Pull up, put the whole conference in the doghouse. Leave them 6 feet, see me on the win streak. All-star status, go coach and the bench deep. Offense on 10, how we run it? Your best ain't nothing, we gon' send them boys punting. Black and red, got them dead on arrival. Defense hunker down for the tie. Hey, you don't want it with the dogs. Found guy on it, you don't want it with my dog. Break it down, play by play, that's the day-to-day. They know we ain't come to play, boy, it's UGA. Kirby smart, I cannot play the fool. Back to back, we did not come to lose. Back to back like we got something to prove. Pay your dues, dog nation on the move. What's up?
We do a little bit different around here.
We ain't come to play, we ain't come to play. Shut up and grind the tape.
The tape, the tape.
We ain't come to play, we ain't come to play. Them dogs in your face.
Let's grind.
We ain't come to play, we ain't come to play. Shut up and grind the tape.
Shut up. Let's grind.
We ain't come to play, we ain't come to play. Them dogs in your face. Shut up and grind.
Let's grind.
Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape.
The tape, the
Shut
tape.
up and grind.
Let's grind.
Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Shut up and grind. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape. Shut up and grind. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro.
Shut up.
Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to MBR, or as we like to call it around here, Nothing But Rants, the show where I find topics that I'm oddly passionate about and I pontificate upon them. These are not hot takes, but rather takes that I'm hot about. What's up? You really like that? Let's shut up and grind some tape. What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome in to the Film Guy Network on a fabulous Tuesday evening. Yeah, fabulous Tuesday evening here on the Film Guy Network. As it appears, right as we go live, it appears Georgia is this close to maybe punching their ticket, 70% of their ticket to the NCAA tournament. But we got a loaded show here for you guys tonight. Florida State and Clemson absolutely wiping the floor with the ACC with their recent lawsuit. We've also got Larry Fitzgerald's son. Larry Fitzgerald's son out here catching offers. Give us an opportunity to share our times where we felt old, even though I'm very curious to see how this goes for you, young 20-year-olds. So, yeah, we'll find out what makes you guys feel old, all 23 years old and stuff. But, yeah, Greg McElroy Says season is upon us. Boys, it is time for Greg McElroy Says season, one of my favorite times of the offseason.
Is Greg McElroy Says season as hot as Paul Feinbaum season?
Paul Feinbaum fire season is like approaching, but Greg McElroy Says season it's primo college football content in my mind. We're going to bring it to you tonight, special edition. Cardell Jones out here with the made the show notes tonight, so we'll talk about Cardell Jones. Greg Sankey has made the show notes as well tonight with what we're calling him pumping the brakes on college football playoff expansion. But I want to start with this. I don't think there's a single position in all of sports that people seem to 100% have differing opinions on, more so than the quarterback position in the sport of football. It's commonly known as the hardest position in all of sports to project, to draft, to evaluate, all those things, right? No one really knows or really has a 100% certainty about what these guys are ultimately going to be and whether or not they're going to work. Even on the Saturday level, we see the 5-star hit rate at the quarterback position not be tremendously high over the last 10 years, 15 years since they've been doing it in the recruiting industry in high school. They get to college and they get drafted in the NFL. We know that bust rate is at about 50-50. Even in the first round, at the highest rate, they're only a coin flip at the position, right? But now this time of the year, I see a tendency to have people freaking out with quarterbacks throwing in shorts and t-shirts, right? We talked about it last night to start the show with Keelan Russell, the quarterback out of Alabama, with him just putting a couple clips out and Alabama's entire fan base being like, oh my God, this is our guy. I saw one YouTube thumbnail that just said elite with Keelan Russell's face, photo on it. There's 2 throws. You saw 2 throws, and we're out here already doing it, right? But that time of the year is, in terms of quarterback overreaction with shorts and T-shirts, it's more rampant right now than ever before. That's because we just wrapped up the NFL Combine, and NFL Draft Twitter is out here going crazy with, evaluations of quarterbacks in shorts and T-shirts.
I just had a realization. I think you get a lot of this because it's the one time where NFL fans and college football fans intermingle.
Yeah.
You have the football fans, and there's a large quantity of them, but there are people that only watch NFL and only pay attention to college football players when the combine comes around, and then college fans that only pay attention to NFL stuff when it's the combine, it's their players. So you get finally this mass group of people all interacting.
And one of those mass group of people on the internet is NFL Draft Twitter. And I don't know of a group that has just stamped themselves ball knower more as a certified ball knower, has stamped themselves more than I know ball than NFL Draft Twitter. NFL Draft Twitter, I swear, thinks they know more about what they cover than the rest of us. Than the rest of us creating content. And maybe that's the nature of the content in the NFL Draft world. You have to make takes, you have to make stances, you have to stamp your approval on players, and you have to be strong with your opinions. But man, there is no more self-righteous, in my opinion, opinionated based content than NFL Draft Twitter. They know what they know, and they swear to you that they are right about it. The latest quarterback in the crosshairs, if you will, of NFL Draft Twitter is Will Howard, apparently, and they got on him with his NFL Draft Combine performance, and basically said he's trash. Now, I felt like this was a good opportunity for me to address, like, as an evaluator, when I go to these events, what am I looking for, particularly from the quarterback position? First and foremost, I 100% believe if you have not seen a quarterback throw in person, you can't really 100% evaluate that guy. So if you're an NFL Draft Twitter guy making real staunched opinions off television copies, that's a little bit much. Okay, so you have to go see these people live. And this is what I'm looking for when I go out, whether it be an NFL Combine, whether it be an Elite 11 camp that we got coming up in Carrollton in a couple weeks for the regional, whether it be an Elite 11 finals. If I'm ever watching a quarterback throw, these are the things that I'm looking for. Not in any specific order. This is the way they were spit out of my brain onto the notes today. Rotation of the football. Does it immediately spin, and does it spin really, really tight? If you have high revolutions of spin rate, if you will, of the ball, you're going to cut it through the wind better. You're going to have natural, the ball's going to jump more naturally out of your hand, and you're probably not going to throw as many wobblers. All right. If you throw a naturally tight football, if it spins well, that's the first thing I'm looking for. Throwing mechanics. Okay. All right. We're talking linear or rotational. What type of thrower are you? Are you consistent in your mechanics? Are you connected? In other words, does your lower body and upper body work in unison? Are they mistimed? Are they disjointed? If they are, it will lead to inaccuracies no matter where you're at, right? The life of the football. This is why it's important to go see, right? Be there in person. Does that sucker jump? This is the very first thing I told you guys about Dylan Gabriel. Having seen him at the Elite 11, that ball jumps out of that hand. You will hear those people talk about that at the NFL Combine. Is that always required? No, but I particularly like somebody who has natural life. Do they have that flick in that wrist extension, right? Does that ball jump off those fingertips, right? When I go see these guys in person, do they throw a catchable ball? Are they able to layer the football? Does everything have to be a ripped ball to be accurate, right? Are they a closer or are they a pitcher? Are they a thrower or are they a pitcher, right? Are they able to locate? Can they put it where they want to? Are they able to take balls off? Can they get it up and down, right? All those things are very, very important when we go watch a quarterback in person. General horsepower of the athlete is something that I'm looking for. In other words, what can you do? And don't tell me it doesn't matter, because I'll tell you why it does here in just a little bit. But how much horsepower can you generate? How much juice do you naturally have? Can you do things from the right hash to outside the numbers on the left side of the left sideline, right? How much juice do you have in the overall frame and athletic profile? And the last thing, and honestly, most likely the most important for every evaluator at the quarterback position, how accurate are you, right? Can you consistently put it wherever the hell you want when you throw the football? Are you a natural thrower of the football? And now all natural throws of the football are normally accurate. Now here's the keynote with accuracy, and it particularly shows up in these types of takes. Not all misses are created equal. All right, not all misses when you go to throw a football are created equal. I think there are two types and two categories of misses, if you will. There's high-low misses, and there's I missed him out front, I was behind him. The I missed him out front, I was behind him is, hey, we got to get connected. That's a brand new wide receiver. Maybe y'all haven't thrown enough together. He's either too fast or too slow for you. We got to put the ball out in front of him a little bit more. We got to give it whatever it is. That is an accuracy adjustment based off speed and rapport with the receiver on the other end. However, you out here missing low, you out here missing high. Those are either mechanical issues or lack of arm talent issues, lack of arm strength issues. If you are throwing a deep dig and that ball nosedives on you, we got a problem. If you are throwing an out route and that ball sails on you and you miss 5 feet over the guy's head, we have a problem. Okay, so it's not just, we missed this one, right? Prime example, Jalen McElroy out there very clearly not very comfortable with the drops, not very, or with regards to the actual quarterback drops. We're going to take a 5-step, 1 hitch, throw a comeback right here. If you watch that wide receiver is getting all the way out of those cones before the ball actually arrives to him. You watch somebody who's actually comfortable taking those drops, like a Tyler Shuck in the same group. Quarter or wide receiver gets to the top of the cones, comes out of the break, boom, immediately ball on his face. That is the difference, right? These are why every single little miss and every single reason has a or an exact thing that you are supposed to be looking for when you're out there. Not just, oh my God, he was terrible, right? Or oh my God, he was great. Which brings me to Will Howard, right? Was Will Howard's field workout absolutely horrible? I would say no. Did Will Howard show me exactly the physical ceiling limitations that I have with regards to his throwing talent during that workout? 100%. Some of those 15 to 20 yard intermediate throws, as we'd say, when he missed high. All right, he was sailing footballs on air. That is a concern to me. What were you guys' thought process on just overall what you should take away from he's throwing in shorts and t-shirts on air with new receivers?
Well, I think specifically for Will Howard, maybe what his combine performance showed is I kind of felt like Will Howard was an inconsistent football player this past season. I feel like his college career has kind of been that. Because during the regular season, there wasn't a whole lot of consistently being great. Or then there was moments in the season where it felt like Will Howard couldn't do enough for the offense for them to get over maybe some of the roadblocks. But then he goes into the college football playoff and he plays out of his mind and he looks like one of college football's best quarterbacks. So I think that the combine kind of just highlighted here's some inconsistencies. He's not maybe accurate all of the time. And I think that you can draw those conclusions knowing like what his career arc looked like as a college athlete to what the combine performance showed.
It is weird, however, because he led the nation in completion percentage in QBR. And that's the whole pushback. Everybody's like, I see the take all the time when guys don't throw at the combine or guys don't throw well at the combine. The natural, and I'm the film guy, this is going to sound real ironic coming from me, but the natural pushback is, well, I wish we had something to look at, like, 13 games of game tape. I'm with you. I'm 100% with you. It's still routes on there. We should be able to throw the football accurately, consistently.
Yeah.
Can you publish that, by the way? I just sent you a post-game article.
Yes.
Sorry, we got things going on. Kirby, what are your takes on just general, hey, we're out here throwing routes on there. Let's make a hot take about how a quarterback's either the best or the worst.
It was very much kind of what Jonathan said, where Will Howard showed you that he is an inconsistent quarterback when it comes to accuracy, maybe not as much arm strength, but being able to put the ball in places you need to at the velocity that you need to.
Yeah.
I think that he kind of is a victim of his own success. That month of, January leading into February when the national title was, or late December leading into January, he looked really, really good. And I think the best version of Will Howard can be a very solid NFL quarterback. I don't think the best version of Will Howard is what you would get if you go into every Sunday. And I think that's probably the reason why he's going to be slipping a little bit in the draft stock. As far as the combine goes, you can take that with what you will. He can go back on the pro day and do a Zach Wilson type workout and everyone will be back in on him. It's things like that where I think that Will Howard probably did not do himself favors. He certainly did not do himself favors in the combine. But I also question how much scouts and coaches look at, he was behind the receiver on this out route, or he was high on the receiver on this out route, as much as, like you said, how does the ball look when it comes off of their arm?
Yeah, that's all. And again, when you go out there, like I said, every miss is not created equal. Some of those were, we just put it a little too far out in front. But the ones when we're elevating footballs on intermediate routes, that makes me concerned about what we have accuracy-wise down the field. Now, again, all of this gets convoluted in terms of the eval when you go actually watch the film and you find out and you remembered like this guy finished second in the country in completion percentage behind only Shedeur Sanders. And it wasn't like they weren't throwing the football at Ohio State. He averaged, I think, north of 25 attempts per game throughout the season. So they were getting after it a good bit down there. Now, it also gets convoluted when you're like, well, no shit, he completed every ball. Look at the guys he was throwing to. You know what I mean? Like, look at all the separation they were created. There's a whole lot to the quarterback evaluation process, which again is where I land. Like, I am never going to come on here and tell you, especially on the NFL level, that I 100% believe this guy, no doubt, going to be great. There's so much of a variance. Like, there's so much that goes into whether or not it's actually going to be a success story. I do want to address this because I saw Kurt Warner wondering on social media why everyone's so obsessed with velocity, right? And how hard someone can throw the football. Personally, I think everyone can agree in a vacuum, if we could just take a quarterback of all time that we want, we're all going to take Tom Brady. We're all going to take the quarterback who's uber accurate and knows without a shadow of a doubt exactly what the defense is doing. You give me the most perfect computer-esque processor that can put it wherever he wants, we're all going to take that guy, right? I think we all can agree that that's the type of football player that we want, right? I'm also all here for we got to be able to throw a catchable football and we got to be able to layer the football. I'm here for all of those discussions, and I'm 100% in agreement with every single coach that ever has that opinion that is required to be a great quarterback. You got to be a great passer, right? Not a great thrower. You got to be a great passer. I'm with you. But I am also under the impression that about 99.9999999% of quarterbacks will never see the game as good as Tom Brady. They will never see the game as good as Peyton Manning. They will never see the game as good as Drew Brees. I am not betting that their brain is the outlier, okay? Which means something about their physical makeup better be able to fix them if the shit goes haywire, which it will when they get out there in the football or in actual football environment, right? When things break down, when things aren't perfect, I need to know that the quarterback, we don't call it velocity around here. I need to know, it's a Trey Dilfer term I stole years ago. I need to know that the quarterback's got the horsepower to get me out of it when shit goes to hell. And the reason being, nowadays, it's going to hell at a higher frequency than ever before. All right, Kirby Smart calls it the deterioration of football. On the NFL level, I call it them defensive linemen good as hell nowadays, bro. They get on quarterbacks so much quicker than they ever have before, which means you have to be able to play outside of the system every once in a while. You've got to be able to have the horsepower to make things work.
And I feel like that, especially now, like speaking of how great defensive linemen are, like I feel like there is such a higher emphasis on it's great to be a great thrower, but athleticism has become such a big component of being a quarterback, especially in the NFL. And so like, and Will Howard possesses that. So like some things may outweigh the others. Like maybe you will take some of these inaccuracies that he has, or maybe some of this inconsistent play because he is one of the more athletic quarterbacks in this class.
I feel like it's also, and I know that this is our job. I feel like we're analyzing this way too much to a degree. And I get why we're doing it because Twitter had a ball with like calling it the worst combine performance ever. But like you could chalk it up to as much as he had a bad day. Mm-hmm. And we've seen Tom Brady have bad days where he's not accurate. He's sailing footballs and he's making bad decisions. He's making bad reads. I'm not convinced that Will Howard's a great quarterback that just had a bad day. I think it's just one of those things where you have to wait and see. I think the 15 to 16 games that he played the season before that showed us, he's probably is a little bit inconsistent. There are some accuracy concerns. That's what you need to go off of, not the skin and tights underwear workout.
Welcome in. We got a loaded show for you guys tonight. It's absolutely ridiculously slammed. As I told you at the top, the FSU and Clemson numbers are a lot lower than projected with regards to getting out of there. I want to ask you guys to go ahead and hit that thumbs up button, like, subscribe, rate, and review. No read tonight. We're going to run it ad-free for you boys and girls. How about that?
Wow.
Only because I'm not clarified on the contract limits. It's March. So we're going to have a conversation. But anyways, where shall we begin? Let's talk about this ACC news, boys. FSU and Clemson absolutely kicked the ass of the ACC in court. For those of you who didn't listen to last night's show, we talked about how the settlement that was just finalized yesterday, I believe, between Florida State Clemson and the ACC, basically said, all right, we'll bend the knee. We'll give you guys an additional up to $15 million of additional television revenue because more people watch you than they do Wake Forest. We're in agreement with you. We'll take some from Peter and we'll pay you Paul because, Paul, you're pretty pissed off and you seem to want to leave. Also, reports yesterday, hey, that buyout clause is going to start de-escalating. They're going to make it a lot less money. That report we read yesterday to you guys basically said you're going to have to wait until 2030 to save your $600 million. No, says the ACC today. As it was reported today, the real numbers are even juicier than what we talked about last night. Clemson and Florida State can now officially get out of their ACC contract for $165 million as early as this year. If you don't recall, this time last year, reports were that it was going to cost them $700 million to get up out of this TV contract. So, as I tweeted today, a couple $1 million and some really, really good lawyering fees worth of money basically saved them $535 million in this buyout clause. That is the easy way to consolidate this news for you guys today. And it all but confirms to me, Clemson, Florida State, out of the ACC as early as this year for $165 mil, as guaranteed, it seems, in 2030 for just $75 million, which by that point, the Big Ten contract just so happened to be coming up in 2030.
Interesting.
And I think the Big Ten the Big Ten payout right now, about $61 million per member school. And reports are it's only going to escalate in 2030. So if you were to just so happen to jump into the Big Ten in 2030 under that new TV contract and just have happened to pay out about $75 million to leave the ACC, you'd probably break even year one. Wouldn't even cost you any money.
That's not a bad deal. And I think that they're probably not going to see any changes conference-wise until the playoffs gets rid of the auto bids.
Yeah.
Because why would you do this right now? You're the ACC. All you have to do if you're Clemson or FSU, win the ACC and you're in the playoff. Where if you go to the Big Ten, if you go to the SEC, there are not that many spots allotted for you that yet. Where if they do go to the 14 or 16, it's going to be there. So.
Chad's already out ahead of us just a little bit, asking the question of, but where would they even go? Who wants them? Who's going to take them? Here's what I suggest. And here's what again, I have no reporting on this. This is my simpleton ass brain doing this right here, okay? 18 member schools in the Big Ten already. 16 member schools in the SEC. The two been talking about getting married and making a super league for years now. Clemson and FSU in the SEC footprint. You absorb the two of them. You got two super conferences. It really throws up a big FU to Notre Dame, but maybe we just regulate Purdue and just slide Notre Dame in there and then bang, two 18-team super leagues that run college football already. Why not just bring the other two teams in there? That's what my simpleton brain says. Everyone's connecting them to the Big Ten. I think the reason being because Florida would pitch an absolute fit that Florida State gets into the mix there.
Well, I mean, Texas A&M would have pitched a fit if Texas got in, and that obviously
and they
went
did
very well.
And it got to a point where Greg Sankey was like, "We got 13 of the 14. You really gonna make me kick you out of here?" Basically, kind of deal is what it sounded like. And then Texas A&M bent the knee. It was like, "Bring them on in."
I know the answer to it, but I'm still going to ask it of like, why leave? Like, why do you want to leave this conference so bad? You're doing exactly what you're doing, the Johnny Manziel right now, and that's why I knew what the answer was before I even asked it. But you're in a conference right now where basically every single year, if you're Clemson specifically, Florida State not so much, they're still fluctuating up and down quite a bit, but Clemson specifically, you're guaranteed to be a top 2 team in your conference every single year. Like every time we enter a season, you're a top 2 team.
The only time it's a good idea to sign a 10-year TV contract is when you're the NBA and you suckered the ESPN contract into like $2.6 billion a year. When ESPN calls you and says, "I'll pay you more than everyone as a collective pays the NFL," you sign that one for 10 years. But when the ACC network calls you and says, "We're going to pay your schools about $28 million until 2036. You probably don't jump on that one. All right, you probably make that contract length a little bit shorter. It's going to ruin the conference. I don't know if you know this.
Yeah,
but that's what's tearing them all apart because they want to get out because the TV contract was signed for such a longevity at a rate that didn't account for the obvious increase in some of these licensing deals across the sport.
And I think another thing that we have to talk about is, and I kind of alluded to this during the 2023 season, was that The conference. He just walked into the wall. The ACC's been circling the drain since the end of the 2023 season when the College Football Playoff Committee told the rest of the world that we value your conference less. Now, I get that it was because of the fact that the team that was there lost their starting quarterback and didn't look the same, but you kept a 13-0 ACC conference champion out of the College Football Playoff, essentially telling everyone in that all the members of that conference, that we value you less than the SEC, we value you less than the Big Ten. That kind of got the ball rolling on, one, we're not getting paid as much as these other schools are. The SEC contract's better, the Big Ten contract's better, and two, now we've got an entire playoff committee that values us less as a team. We need to get out of this deal. So that's been what really got the ball rolling on that, and we talked about it in 2023. It was such a exponential amount of money that, there's no way they get out of this. They lawyered up and did everything they could to get out and get to where we are right now, where essentially the ACC will be dead by 2030.
Yeah, and I understand all the logistics around it, and I understand the money being the main reasoning for this, and the college football playoff thing, of course, plays a role in this. But I mean, when we expand to 16, we're already talking about how the SEC and the Big Ten are going to have more auto bids than the other conferences, but even though mathematically you have a better chance of making the playoff in the SEC in that type of format, I don't know that it heightens Clemson's chances of making the playoff. Like I just said, I think they're consistently a top 2 team in that conference. You put them in the SEC right now, you're 4th, maybe 5th. And if there's 4 auto bids, that's just kind of what I'm getting at. I understand the logistical reason of why you want to get out of here, but from a college football only standpoint of this, maybe it ain't so bad to be over there in the ACC.
And I agree. And the counterpoint to that is that recruiting, all of these things where being able to rev split and rev share and going into getting the best amount of talent, talented players want to go to talented schools. It's why it's part of the pitch of what makes the SEC so great. You look at the NFL draft numbers every year.
They're all about to get put on a level playing field by all taking a $20.5 million hit on their athletic budget annually. I can't be taking another $45 million hit in comparison to my competition on a TV rights deal. Mm-hmm. It does not make any sense. I mean, they would be paying, like I said, if you wait until 2030, the loss of getting out of the contract is washed year one with your TV deal in your new conference.
No, I understand that.
You can't be, at that point, it's going to be $50 million. Can you imagine that? The difference? Roughly, okay? The TV contract in the ACC is about $28 million right now. It's going to get tilted towards their way about $15 million. So they'll get 43, basically.
Do you think?
But still not enough.
Sorry. Do you think history is going to be kinder to the ACC than it was the Pac-12? Everyone criticized the way the Pac-12 went out.
I don't think the ACC ever goes down like the Pac-12 did. I just don't think so.
So you think you think that obviously Miami and Florida State will leave one day, maybe North Carolina, and some of the bigger schools will. Do you think that'll still be a conference when that time comes? Like the Pac-12 is essentially just grabbing whatever group of 5 team they can right now. It's not a Power 4 conference, and no one's looking at it that way anymore.
Yeah, as long as hoops exist, I think the ACC is going to be okay.
Okay.
I think they'll be all right. Mm-hmm. I saw some jokes about Clemson and FSU doing all this just to get into the Big 12. They're going to end up in one of these bigger conferences, right?
Why would you leave the ACC for the Big 12?
You wouldn't.
You wouldn't, unless the Big 12 comes upon some exorbitant, godly amount of money.
At that point, you're just leaving
private equity.
You're just leaving your conference to prove a point, pretty much.
Yeah, basically. Boys, the Larry Fitzgerald on the board right here. Larry Fitz's son.
Everything's covered. I got no angles.
Let's see. Nope. No angles. Either way, Larry Fitz's son is a senior or a rising senior in high school football right now and just received an offer from North Carolina, which I guess prompted Christian this morning he must have got up out of bed this morning and his knees hurt or something.
Dude, it happens every morning.
Wanted to take to the notes the times he felt old watching college football.
It's not just watching college, it's just being around damn, Larry Fitzgerald has a son that is getting recruited by college teams right now. I remember, now obviously I was very young, but I remember watching Larry Fitzgerald growing up in that Super Bowl against the Steelers. That was the first time when I realized, this is a really good football player. I think he had a one-handed catch that season against the Falcons in the playoffs, the wild card game, I believe.
Yeah.
That's when I really became aware of who Larry Fitzgerald was. So to think that that guy now has a son who's about to be playing college football, a sport we cover, made me feel very old.
My introduction to Larry Fitzgerald was, I believe, college football 2006. He was unstoppable in that video game.
Oh, I think you're thinking 05 when he was on the cover.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
That's 05.
My man was a unit out there for Pitts. So you don't even remember Pittsburgh Larry Fitzgerald.
No, I wasn't there for that.
How about you? What made you feel old, Mr. 24-year-old?
I don't know that specifically makes me feel old, because like when I think of players like Larry Fitzgerald, like that guy has been around for my entire life.
Yeah.
So it kind of makes sense to me, like, oh yeah, you should have a son around this age by now that's getting college interest. So like that my mind makes sense there. The moment that I started feeling old, and the first time this happened, it was when I was watching the MLB, of when players that I'm watching play a professional sport are now younger than me. That's when I felt old. Like when Ronald Acuna got called up, he was the same age as me.
Oh wow.
And I'm like, okay,
that'll do it to you.
This makes you
He's
feel
only
old.
24?
It was very young, yeah.
How old is he? He's only like 24 right now?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's
crazy.
I have a similar one of those on my list. This year, with the exception of a few double red shirt COVID year guys, I'm going to be
27, but
okay.
Same age range.
Yeah.
I'm going to be older than 99.9% of the players that are on the field that we cover.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
college
this is the first
specifically, it
year where I'm
happens.
like,
I'll tell you what happened for me in my line of
they
work,
look
our line
young
of work.
too.
I went out to a spring camp, and it was like 28 degrees. It wasn't even spring. It was like mid-February. It's like 28 degrees at North Cobb High School. And then there's these two young white men that are out here. Like everybody's like, I'm in a hoodie. I'm like freezing. And there's these two lunch pail gritty kids out here just with the cut off sleeves, got the 6-inch, inseams on, out here wearing basically no clothes and just diving on turf, just gritty as hell, just routing dudes up, quarterbacks back there slinging the ball. And I look over at the dude next to me and I'm like, hey man, who are the two lunch pail kids out here? Who's out here out just balling? Who are these two guys? And the coach next to me goes, oh, they're actually twins. Their last name is Dallas. And I start putting two and two together. My head coach in high school, Coach Kenny Dallas, had two twin boys that were our ball boys. They were like 5 and 6 when I was in high school. Two Dallas twins out here balling, just getting college offers left and right. And I'm like,
I didn't hear what you said.
what in the world's going on here, man? I'm old. I'm officially old. So, yeah, both of those two now play college football, heading into year 4 of college football. And they're really good ball players. The oldest, or not the oldest, they're twins. The wide receiver, Josh, just went for a team-high touchdowns and team-high receptions and team-high yards.
Shout out Josh. I think my favorite part of that story was the twin boys that have different ages.
Yeah, my bad. Did I say that?
5 and 6.
No, but yeah, my bad. Right.
That's fine.
They were 5 or 6. They were like 5 or 6.
Yeah, I get it.
Running around.
It was just funny to imagine
and here we are covering them. That felt weird to me. I felt old.
Yeah. I feel old thinking that Kirby Smart's going into his 10th season as Georgia's coach.
That's crazy.
A decade.
It's already been a decade of dominance for Kirby Smart. No, this is year 9.
No, this is
16. Well, yeah, I guess it is. It counts 10.
This is his 10th
but
season.
it's been 9 years.
9 calendar years.
Kind of
10
math works.
10 seasons.
Interesting.
Because you don't.
I got you. I got it. 16 counts.
There you go.
And 25 counts. I get it. It's 10 years, 10 seasons. But yeah, so the first big time offer for this individual, at least of a national offer for Larry Fitz's son, comes from North Carolina. The reason this is really on the show notes is because have you seen this North Carolina coaching staff?
I've seen a couple of key players. I haven't done a deep dive of the entire list.
So we all know Bill has a son, Steve,
Correct.
the defensive coordinator, head coach in waiting per the contract. I was unaware that he had another son, which I don't know who his PR agent is. Maybe he needs to grow a mullet and start pulling it backwards, gain an obscene amount of weight really quickly. Maybe he needs to do something like that. But his name's Brian Belichick. He is going to coach defensive backs. So we got those two hires. And then we come out here, Jamie Collins. Y'all remember that name?
Oh, yeah.
Jamie Collins, one of his favorite New England Patriot, back coaching college football now, or at least coming back to college football to coach. He's their linebackers coach. Bob Diaco, I bet you don't know the name. He's a D-line lifer. They stole him from Louisiana State, also known as LSU. Don't know why I said it that way. Will Friend is a name that you guys are probably familiar with. Will Friend, lifer in the SEC. He's basically coached at every SEC member school, including the University of Georgia back in 2011. Lifetime offensive line coach. They got him. Armand Hawkins is a cornerback coach that came over from Washington with Steve, so I'm assuming there's some connectivity there. They liked what he put out in Washington. Freddie Kitchens, offensive coordinator and former NFL head coach. Didn't go so hot as the head coach up there in Cleveland, despite the fact that Todd Monken was his offensive coordinator when he was the head coach. Can you believe that? Can you believe a head coach managed to lose football games with Todd Monken as the OC? Impossible. But anyways, it happened. Freddie Kitchens hadn't really worked out in the college ranks, but we'll see. It's a ball nowhere. It's the highest level, at least, in that form. Matt Lombardi, another one of these name hires. It's a Lombardi, okay? But that guy coached for years in the NFL before becoming a quarterbacks coach now on the college level. His first time being back on the college ranks since being a GA a while back. Billy Miller, special teams coach. Who cares? Didn't go into the depths of figuring out who that guy is. Garrett McGee. You talk about a Power 5 turnstile of a head or a position coach. My man McGee has made 10 stops over the last 15 years of college football coaching.
Ooh, damn.
And they're all in the ACC and SEC as in either a wide receivers coach or a quarterbacks coach. Lifer as a position coach, very well acclimated to the recruiting world of college football, as you would imagine. Natrone Means. How about that? Running backs coach, spent 7 years in the league, been bouncing around as a position coach in college football for a little while. And then this name, out of all this, guys, it seemed like either lifer, been coaching in the league, played in the league, has connections to Belichick. And then there's Ty Nichols, who's the outside linebackers coach. And this one smells like young up-and-coming coach name I'm going to be paying attention to, because he has no connections at all to the Belichick tree, has no connections to a life in the NFL, has just clearly been a very up-and-coming young football coach that must have done something in his interview process to get hired by Bill Belichick. Probably an impressive young football coach. I'll be paying attention. I did the research today because it appears to me that, yeah, there's some nepotism there. Don't get me wrong. But it appears to me that this is a staff that is very, very well-rounded.
I'm not shocked that Bill Belichick has assembled a college football staff or a coaching staff, given that he's been in the sport almost 50 years now, that he has connections and he has coaches, and he's good at the hiring process. It makes sense. I mean, he is arguably the GOAT of the NFL coaching. I mean, you can make a case that he's the greatest coach of all time. So it checks out with everything that he's done over the last few years, or his entire career, at least.
Yeah.
Would you say that this is a risk of them going with Belichick, or do you think that this is just like, it doesn't matter? Because, like, let's say that it doesn't pan out at UNC. Let's say that it's just a complete disastrous experiment. Like, I'm talking like worst case scenario for the Tar Heels this next season of it just doesn't work. None of the pieces fit. Like, do you think that I mean, they feel it could end up being like, this is the end of the road for you?
Can I answer that?
Yeah, go ahead.
It feels like North Carolina is
What if
doing.
I just said no? Hell no, that's mine.
Keep it to yourself.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm like, okay. It feels like North Carolina is doing adjacent to what Colorado did, on a much more, we actually want to like focus on a coach that has a pedigree of this. Mm-hmm. Bill Belichick is obviously a name that you bring him into the college ranks is going to bring a lot of eyes, a lot of notoriety to your school day one. Even if he doesn't win things, people are going to talk about him. People want him to succeed. People want him to fail, depending on who they are. Deion was the same thing. Now, obviously, Deion has been a great coach for Colorado, and he's excelled that program to new heights. But you're at a position in North Carolina where it's like, what do you have to lose? The Mac Brown experience was not what you hoped it would be. It really tapered off in a negative way there. It started out strong, but you're at a point now where you're North Carolina. You're not really a team that should, quote unquote, be competing for national titles. Your fans don't really expect it. What do you have to lose if you go out and get this guy that's going to bring you so much national attention, and it's probably going to give you a bump in recruiting? And oh, by the way, he won 6 Super Bowls.
Well, I was more so asking about the coaches themselves. Okay. I'm not necessarily asking about UNC hiring Bill Belichick. Makes complete sense to me. Yeah. I mean, it feels like a good hire for what they want to be. They want to be relevant, and they want to win football games, and they want to be a quality football program. I think you get that with Bill Belichick. But I'm more so talking about these coaches of, could it end up being one of these situations where you went to UNC, things didn't pan out?
Some of these like guys like that don't have huge names, like Bob Diaco. Bob Diaco is going to have a position coaching job in Power 4 football until he retires, as will Will Friend, as will some of these guys like Garrett McGee, the wide receivers coach who's had 10 jobs in the last 15 years. I think he's going to be okay if this one flames out because the head coach didn't work. You see what I'm saying?
No, yeah.
Some of these young guys like Jamie Collins, this is, I would imagine this is Jamie Collins' introduction to coaching. I don't think anybody's not going to hire Jamie Collins after this if it flames out.
Yeah, too. I mean, I would also say that the fact that Bill hired you in the first place, that kind of speaks to your credibility.
The guy who's got the most on the line if they suck is Steve Belichick.
Yeah.
If this thing don't work for Bill, you don't get a head coaching job. That's what's at stake for anybody on this staff. It's in Steve Belichick's future career hopes as a head football coach, which is crazy to me. That tells you how much Bill thinks this is going to work, right? Bill thinks this is going to be a 2-year turnaround, hand it right over to Steve. I think the contract length for Belichick is only like 3 years, and then there's a transition process to Steve. So this isn't supposed to be some 10-year plan at this program. This is, we're going to turn around quick. I'm going to get the machine rolling. I'm going to hand it over to Steve, and Steve's going to be a legendary college football coach until the NFL steals it. That's what it seems like the trajectory is going to be. Seems like it is Greg McElroy says season. And I love this. I love when I pull up the show notes about 2:30 in the afternoon and my boy Kirby done cooked up a fresh batch of show notes, and one of the bullet points says, Greg McElroy says ... Oklahoma's a sleeper. Now, I get no further context, right? Because this is probably some audio clip of Greg McElroy says. Now, my first question, I got a litany of them. Did he say they're a sleeper in the SEC? Did he say they're a sleeper to win, 8 games? Did he say they're a sleeper to compete for a national title? Or did they say they have a sleeping fan base? What kind of sleeper is Oklahoma right now?
And I think that's the beauty of what Greg McElroy can do.
Hell yeah.
Because he can give you a take. He can give you what he thinks. And he doesn't answer any of those questions.
Nope.
In the quote, Greg McElroy says, one of the biggest sleepers in the sport for me this upcoming season is the Oklahoma Sooners. End quote. This is a team that I'm wildly bullish on. I'm not going to say as far as lock them in their SEC championship contender. I'm not there yet, but I'm closer today than I was a month ago.
Okay,
so what happened within the last month? What has happened at Oklahoma to impact the 2025 football product on field?
I can give you the quote for that. And once again, the quote doesn't really answer it.
Come on, Greg.
I'm feeling like the momentum and the trajectory of this Oklahoma team this year is only going to get going as we get closer and closer to the summer. So basically, Greg McElroy has told us that he's got an inkling that his gut feeling is telling him that Oklahoma is a team that is being slept on. Not for any particular reason, not that they're being doubted in a certain way, but his gut feeling says that he's bullish on them.
It sounds to me like Greg McElroy's gut has digested some on-field air clips of the boy Mateer spinning it.
Ooh.
That's what it sounds like to me.
It could also be that Greg McElroy has mastered the art of, I'm going to give a take.
Yeah.
And then if that take goes catastrophically wrong and people pull receipts, I say, where was I wrong? I never said Oklahoma was going to win 8 games. I never said they were going to win the SEC.
Also, brilliant business strategy here. Tip of the cap, playing the algo too. Playing the algorithm right about now. Everybody's feeding off that Oklahoma hire of Jim Nagy. Let's go ahead and that's what happened last month. People are positively talking about the Sooners. Let's say they might win 8 games.
That quote to me just reads, they're going to be Vanderbilt this year. Vanderbilt of what they were last year. Like, I don't really expect them to achieve anything significant, but if you sleep on Oklahoma on the wrong weekend, they might get you.
I mean, hey.
Which they did it last year.
2 questions for Oklahoma. Do we have a SEC offensive line this season? That's my number 1 question. Do we have an SEC wide receiver core this season? That's my number 2 question. Everything else, I trust Venables to be serviceable at. All right, I think he's going to have a really good defense no matter what because of who he is and what he is as a defense coordinator. What we didn't talk about last night, and I think we've done the Greg McElroy says segment, which is transitioning us into the actual analysis of the Nagy hire. And I don't want to do the pro Nagy, negative Nagy, whatever. That's not what I want to talk about. What I want to talk about What I want to talk about is whether or not what this hire of Jim Nagy, an expensive hire you would imagine, and a substantive hire that pulls in a lot of attention, what it means for the longevity of a guy like Brent Venables at that university. Because I look at this multiple ways. Jim Nagy has obviously been waiting around or applying himself to become a general manager of sorts. Hopefully at the NFL level, he has he has taken this job at Oklahoma under a football coach who, if he goes 7-5 again this year, or worse, 5-7, Bubba, we're getting you out of that fake contract extension we gave you last year, which Jim Nagy's going to be the general manager for the next head football coach? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Does this hire of Jim Nagy make you think, hey, maybe he's been brought in to extend the life of Brent Venables, or these two hires are separate of one another? You see what I'm saying?
That's a very good question. And honestly, I can't answer. Time will tell. Like, is it he's being brought in to supplement Brent Venables, and if the Brent Venables ship goes down, you go down with it? I would venture not, just because we've all talked about the Brent Venables ship could sink this year. Like, if you go 7-5, 6-6 again, they're probably going to cut you. I don't think Jim Nagy's getting axed for that.
I mean, why would he care anyways? I feel like if it doesn't work out, like say Venables gets canned and they can Jim Nagy too, like, why can't he just go back to the Senior Bowl? Like, why couldn't he just go? Like, that's my whole thought process of, I don't see any reason why they would shut him off. I mean, that's the whole reason. He's one of the biggest reasons why that event is what it is, why it's paid so much attention to. And so, like, I think he kind of has a safety net of, why would you go to a program like Oklahoma where it feels like the foundation's it's shaken up a little bit? Well, he kind of has a safety net built in my opinion.
Did not think about that.
All right. On to our next topic, which is Greg Sankey telling everyone to pump the brakes. I titled this segment, Greg Sankey is pumping the brakes. All right, because if you read the article headlines today, it's Greg Sankey basically warns college football, hey, let's not move too fast. Now, we all know by now, if you haven't, you need to. Greg Sankey is the decision maker in college football. Tony Petitti and Greg Sankey are the decision makers in college football moving forward. They wield all the power. So if Greg Sankey is saying, hey, we need to slow this thing down, that's Greg Sankey telling you, hey, I'm about to slow this thing down. And what is he talking about slowing down? College football expansion talks, all right? This is the segment we love most around here called Brooks Reads So You Don't Have To. This comes from a report today from 24/7 Sports. Let me read. Quote, potential future playoff models according to Yahoo Sports' Ross Dellinger include 14 and 16 team brackets with 4 automatic bids reserved for each of the Big Ten and SEC and 2 automatic berths guaranteed for each of the ACC and Big 12. Under those proposals, the highest ranked Group of 5 champion would also secure a berth, and Notre Dame would earn a bid if it ranks inside the top 14. At-large spots would then round out the field. This is a quote from Greg Sankey talking about those expansion models. Quote, we had athletic directors that expressed opinions, and I respect their right to do so, Sankey said on the Paul Feinbaum show today. When those became very much of the focus, I think we should probably slow down a little bit at jumping to conclusions, because there's a lot of work to do in a short period of time, whether it be our scheduling decisions or discussions about the future college football playoff. I will say this and say it again, Sankey continued. I think what we learned after the conference membership movement and looking at a system that was designed in 2019, 20, and 2021, that the rankings versus seedings, the ability to be in the top 4, to be in the next 4 and host, and then an ability to be in the top 12 and have a chance to play in the college football playoff, those look a little bit different. That's why I was direct in saying that we need to really look at adjusting that ranking versus seeding approach that was introduced with this first year. In short, Sankey's basically telling you we are going to adjust the seeding model of the college football playoff and talk about going to 14, hold the brakes on everything else. We've got to make sure that the college football playoff address this automatic bye situation that we've got going on first. That's good news to me that, Greg Sankey's out here alluding to, hey, the only problem we really got to get addressed right now, first and foremost, before everything else settles, is all this automatic bye stuff y'all got going on, because giving the 10th seed the 4th overall ranking seems a little bit goofy to me.
It's honestly confusing news to me.
Very much so.
Because
that's word jumbling.
Because not even that. It felt like when the first initial the model that was set for the 12-team playoff was announced, it felt very much like, and we heard the inklings immediately, the Big Ten and the SEC are kind of pushing for they want more automatic bids. Then obviously the 2024 season happened, and Alabama, South Carolina were controversially left out, and it felt like they were full steam ahead on, hey, we need more auto bids, expand it to 14, expand it to 16, we need to get our guys in there. So to hear him come out now and say, like, there's a lot of things we need to do, we're going to focus on fixing the actual 12-team model first before we just push to 14. I like the news. I think it's good.
Yeah.
I've been against expansion, but it's kind of like, where is this coming from now? Because it seemed like the entire time Greg Sankey and the Big Ten and the powers that be in the SEC were very adamant that we need more teams on our conferences in.
Kirby, you would agree Sankey, pretty smart guy.
For sure.
What if this is lead with A, they're going to counter with C,
the negotiation,
and they're going to meet at B where I actually wanted them to be originally.
So you think the entire motive for him this entire time was, let's just get the 12-team system fixed. I'm going to come in with the demands of 14 or 16 so people say,
and make it seem as if I actually listened to the opposition. Meanwhile, winning my entire goal the entire time.
It's clever.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes him come out look like a reasonable guy. We just talked about, like, this is good, I think. So
as enticing as it sounds of actually just wanting the 12-team playoff fixed, I think that we've also learned that, I mean, we just had a whole conversation about this of the monetary value of things in this sport is way too high for it not to continue moving at the pace that it is of, let's just add more and we're going to get the bigger brands put into this and this, that, and the other. So I would like for it to just remain at 12 and things kind of settle and simmer for a little bit and build the repertoire of the 12-team playoff before we move to 14 or 16, but I just don't see that happening.
All right, Cardale Jones had a take today that I'm kind of tired of, so we're just going to go ahead and address it. He basically had the take of the game between Michigan and Ohio State is now watered down. Reason being because, Ohio State lost it and then went and won a national title. Here's what I refuse to believe. Two things. You ready? I refuse to believe that just because you can lose it, because you can lose a rivalry game, doesn't mean you suddenly don't want to win any damn less. I don't think that is how football or how sports work at all. If you hate the guy across from you, you've been told to hate the guy across from you, you're going to want to whip his ass. That's how sports work. They always have. I also refuse to believe that because you can lose a rivalry game, it doesn't mean you hate your rival any less. All right? Yes, some of these games, quote unquote, mean less because you can lose them and still go on to a college football playoff, but it doesn't mean the rivalry means less, in my opinion.
I wholeheartedly agree with that.
Yeah.
I think it's not the meaning of in-game. It's the suck and the sting of losing that game is not there as much. I think that's what makes sports so great.
It's not season crushing, but it probably still is soul crushing. You think Jack Sawyer feels good about the fact that he never beat Michigan?
Definitely not.
And he's got to wear that the rest of the time. Now, he gets to wear it with a national title ring, but he has to wear that. From every Michigan fan the rest of his life that he ever encounters, every Michigan teammate that he ever encounters the rest of his life, you never beat us.
Certainly. It certainly doesn't mean it sucks any less. And I would guarantee you Jack Sawyer said, if I could beat Michigan, I would have loved to have done it. But the fact is that he's a national champion now, in spite of losing to Michigan for all 4 seasons of his career. It takes the suck out less. It doesn't take the winning out any less.
Yeah.
Michigan gets to celebrate that victory for as long as they want. That's great for them. And that's where the meaning still is. But when you go through the rest of the season and then you say, Ohio State lost, and that sucked at the time, but they end up winning the national title. And you're still going to look back on that Michigan game and go, man, I really wish we'd won that, but all's well that ends well.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see it as watered down. I just think that
I don't agree with that quote.
Yeah.
I mean, a freaking flag and pepper spray was pulled out at this game this past year. I think that the emotions and the hatred and everything about that game still exists between these two football teams. Obviously, the 12-team playoff has changed the expectations and the turnouts of some of these rivalries, but as I've stated before, the only thing that creates those expectations is if one or both of those teams is actually good enough for that to happen.
It's such a great take. The pepper spray was brought out this year. There's no way you could tell me it meant less.
Yeah, they had to freaking bring law enforcement in that. Like, God, man.
We got laws on Congress about planting flags
someone
out
tried
of
to go
this
to
game
Capitol
this year.
Hill
They
about
get watered down. What a great take from you, Jonathan. Now, I want to start doing this offseason. I'm going to find you a player of the day every once in a while. Now, in the local hour, we had such a good player of the day yesterday, and we just oohed and awed at it so much that I went and actually broke it down. Like, so we're going to look at Bo Bentley in full depth tonight because the tape has earned it, right? So we're going to look at him in full depth tonight. But we're going to start looking at some of these players of the day because some of these guys nationally, some of these tapes are just too good not to show you in front of a larger audience. So today's player of the day is John Turntine out of the state of Texas. Now, John Turntine might be the most athletic offensive lineman we will ever evaluate on this network.
Ever?
This might be, I'm telling you right now, this might be the most athletic offensive line tape we will ever watch on this network. Now, here's the problem. John Turntine is sub 6'4". I don't think he's about 6'3" and a quarter. Okay. And he's sub 280 pounds right now. Ooh. Okay, so this is not a huge human. But again, this is, all right, I got it right here in my notes. What if you took Penei Sewell, chop 3 inches off the top and chop 50 pounds off of him? This is what it looks like. I felt this way about Penei coming out of Oregon, and it's why he's such a unique prospect and why he will always be one of my highest rated offensive tackle prospects ever, because players like this, athletes like this at the tackle position, they revamp your offense. They make you a better tunnel of screen team. They make you a better counter team. They make you a better pin and pull football team. They make you a much more diverse run scheme. They make you a better, like I said, screen team because of their athleticism and the things that they can do. Other thing about this guy, you're going to notice very early on, this dude plays big time high school football out in Texas, and he's dominating. This is a Texas Longhorn. This is either a Texas Longhorn or a Missouri Tiger based off how he plays and the offense he's going to excel in, which is a wide zone, athletic-based offense. Let's take a look at it. Also, chat, hello. I want you to help me out here today. We have adjusted some of the audio here on the microphone and the lav mic. So if things sound a little bit better today, please give us a big dub in the chat. All right, big dubs in the chat if the audio has indeed sounded better. All right. Already looking at the stance, you can tell we got us one. You catch one of these with the hand on the thigh board in the stance. You catch one of these, dude. All right, dude. And right here, Jonathan, this is a key. Christian Kirby, I love seeing this from tackles. Foot at a 45. All right, foot at a 45 here with the post foot at the 90. Because guess what? That's what we're going to look like in our pass set. That exact stagger, if you will. That's what it is. All right. I guarantee you we see some elite foot fire here from our man. All right. We're going to ignore this. Yep, elite foot fire. Told you we're getting out of the screen game, and we're murdering people. We're murdering people. I'm telling you right now, boys and girls, this is some dude tape right here. But you can tell, not a huge guy, all right? But he's going to play with a ton of effort the entire snap, all right, throughout the tape right here. A little tackle over right here for this offense, and we see, this is what I'm talking about with this wide zone, stretch zone. Get this guy out. I also love about this clip, Kirby, we're handling this guy one-handed if you look, all right? He's playing a little inside leverage. We're going to take him one hand up on that chest plate, and we're going to run him to the death. All right. We're also seeing some scrimmage tape right here.
Timmy.
Yep. Timmy probably not playing football much longer after clips like that. All right. This is what I'm talking about. We're going to seal edges with this guy. All right. Imagine this in a system like what Texas runs, right? Where Texas is in the eye back here out of pistol, and they're really stretching, trying to get that edge, get somebody to seal that wide 9. All right. We got to have an athlete that can get his feet out in front of edge rushers when he gets to college. This is the type of football player that is required in these systems that are based off of wide zone concepts, similar to what he's got going on right here. Way to flip your hips right there and really seal that edge. We're playing through the echo. Are we in agreement? This is look at this. This is some of the most athletic tape you'll ever see from an offensive lineman, dude. This guy is getting after it.
Do you think that he continues to show that, though, as he has to put on more weight? Yeah, so that's a great question, because we're talking about a 270-pound athlete that at bare minimum is going to have to play at 300 pounds when he gets to college. I have had multiple different theories about this as years have gone. All right. If I am an athletic based profile, all right, meaning like I recruit athletes at the position. I am Texas. I am Missouri. I am some of these offenses that prioritize athleticism at the position. I want to put the weight on you.
Okay, I want to get you in. I want to put the weight on right. If I'm a program like Georgia, where we are in your face, we are downhill, we're much more of a gap scheme based football team. All right, those types of offensive linemen, give them to me as big as possible. I'll shed the weight off of them and put them back on. That's what you've seen Georgia kind of approach it as, right? We're trying to get the biggest human we possibly can get. As soon as they get here, we'll shed the baby fat off of them. We're not worried. But I can't teach you to be big. You know what I mean? I can't teach you to be athletic. Hopefully when you get there, I put the weight on you, and God forbid we become even more explosive because now we've got more muscle mass on us. Great question right there from Jonathan. Here we see the athleticism back again. I mean, look at the burst of this kid, man.
Super athletic.
Look at that. Look at that.
Good Lord.
Woof. What's up?
Here's my one concern, and it plays into the size. Very little pass pro on the tape.
Yeah.
Now, maybe we'll get some here. Maybe it's just buried in because the athletic players are that much of a pop, but it doesn't seem like there's a lot of pass pro here.
You're right. Overran that one. We're almost too fast here. Now, here's one thing I would want to know. I bring this kid in. Yeah, that running back's gone. This is Texas high school football, buddy. They got scooters. Here's the question that I would have. I bring him in. We are immediately going to pull a ball in your hand and see if you can snap, Bubba. That's the very first thing we're going to do. All right, because again, I know you can probably defy some of the God-given minus attributes you have in terms of heights and weights and lengths, right? But if we kick you into center, we don't have to worry about none of that. This might be one of those players like my man from Alabama that is a freak. The center out there that I always forget the name of. Parker Brailsford.
Yep.
You might be a player like that where we can really highlight your athleticism. But this is some tape that I've really enjoyed watching over the last couple of days while evaluating some of these top ranked players, if you will, throughout high school football. There's a pass pro rep for you, Kirby.
Here we go.
And we kept good inside body lean right here. Notice how his body is leaned over his right leg. All right, we want to keep good inside body lean. You see how he's leaning to his right throughout the rep? All right, because quickest line to the quarterback's obviously through our body. If we keep a good inside body lean and good inside body pressure, he can't run through that post foot. We're going to make him have to run the hoop, and that's when we kick our feet.
And not just that, he's got very good contact balance because he was getting shucked pretty hard there and did not fall on his face.
I do want to know arm length, right? It's a key. If you're going to be, a shorter guy, if we have longer arms, we can defy some of that stuff because we can still get to the chest plate. All right, I've seen enough. All right,
one more.
Good tape, right? Oh, you want to watch this one? There's a good little end zone clip
angle.
right here.
Good
angle. I love the stance, man. I love the stance. Yeah.
Just threw him.
I picked that one up as my career progressed. Now I was a center, but when I did one-on-ones as a guard, oh man, the comfort of being able to go ahead and slide that foot out, whew, can't explain it to you, man. Really can't unless you've done it before. So yeah, some good tape right there from my man John Turntime.
I mean, that's an NFL player.
Yeah.
Might not be at the tackle position, but.
Will be fun.
The athleticism is there.
Will be fun to watch as the recruiting class closes in the class of 2026. Speaking of closing, that's the close of our national hour. We got a whole another hour coming up. And I might request the ability to talk some Georgia hoops. Maybe for a brief moment.
Oh, no.
We'll see you on the other side. Welcome into Talk the Dog, the show where we find a bone to pick and a take to give. These are not hot takes. These is dog takes. Can I talk that dog? What's up? You really like that? Let's shut up and grab some tape. What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back in to the Film Guy Network on a fabulous Tuesday evening. Got a whole nother hour of content coming to you right now, and it's our Georgia hour, our local hour. We finna talk that dog. If you're here right now, make sure you hit that thumbs up button, like, subscribe, and rate, review. And if you miss any portion of tonight's broadcast, we are made readily available, however, wherever you get your podcast. I can't understand podcasts for the life of me. I think I've had a pretty successful media content creation career. Ain't never been able to get a podcast up off the ground. People's like, hey, how's the podcast? I don't do a podcast. We do a live show. Now, I prefer you to show up live and be up in the chat. I even love you if you watch us on demand here on YouTube. But if you're a podcast listener, we do have it readily available. All right, we got a loaded local hour. We're going to talk some injury updates heading into spring practice. It's here, guys. We're like 9 days from the start of spring practice, so time to start locking in if you are a Georgia football fan. We're going to talk about some of those injury reports that came out today due to some fine reporting from some colleagues. We will judge your jealousy around the sport of college football. I think it's going to be a fun segment towards the end of tonight's show. The NCAA finally catching a dub, unfortunately, at the hands of a Georgia Bulldog. So we'll talk about that tonight as well. And yesterday, we watched Bo Bentley, and we watched Bo Bentley's highlight tape as a collective. And I think we can just kind of oohed and awed at it. All right, so what we're going to do today is we're going to break that sucker down in full. All right, so we're going to take a look at Bo Bentley's tape in full breakdown tonight. Hope you enjoy that with us today. And we enjoyed oohing and ahhing last night so much, we're going to ooh and ah tonight at one of the best corners in college or in high school football right now that is delaying his commitment that was basically already going to Alabama. We pumped the brakes on that one, and I think I know why. I think the in-state dogs got in the mix. So we're going to talk about a man by the name of Jordan Edmonds tonight. We're going to watch his film, and I might be buying some stock tonight. We got a film study coming up tomorrow. We're going to record that tomorrow.
Yeah,
we're going to record a film study for you guys tomorrow. Watch the young guys on the defensive side of the football. I've got some notes for it for you guys tonight if we end up getting to it. But let's start tonight's local hour by talking about some of these injury reports that came out today. Obviously, Kristen Miller had shoulder surgery to end the season last year. Played the Sugar Bowl against Notre Dame. Big sling on the shoulder. Obviously hurt his shoulder, I believe, against UMass this year.
It was.
And then missed the SEC championship game and the game against Georgia Tech. Came back against Notre Dame in the bowl game, had surgery to replace, I believe that was a torn labrum.
Yep.
I believe it was a torn labrum. So let's talk about that. Kristen obviously going to be a limited participant. And when they say limited participant, he just going to be out there. All right. Might run, might do some conditioning, stuff like that. But he ain't going to take no contact this spring. And it is 15 days of hell. That's what spring practice is. It's 15 days of contact. So if you're not cleared for contact, you ain't going to be doing a whole lot of this work during the spring practice period. So it's a massive spring for folks like Jordan Thomas. It's a massive spring for Nazir Johnson. And it is a huge spring for a football player like Nnamdi Agboko. And a player like Elijah Griffin's going to come to Georgia in spring practice, be available, and get a lot of reps now that Kristen Miller's not going to be available.
This is, I don't want to say good, because you never want one of your star defensive line players to miss extended amounts of time due to injury. But if there were ever a time for Kristen Miller to not be getting reps with the ones, it's right now in the spring. And I think that's kind of what everyone's talking about now. It's the silver lining aspect of it. There's a lot of guys on the interior defensive line that need to step up in this 2025 season. Kristen Miller's not one of them. He proved himself last year. He is probably your most reliable piece on that interior D line spot. So it's probably good that he gets some rest, is able to recover that injury.
Jay, well, you're getting so much love in the chat right now. I'd just love to hear your opinion on this topic. What's going on? Why do you get so much love in the chat?
I don't know.
You just out here being a guy?
The hoops talk.
Just being me, man.
Just being a guy.
I didn't even talk hoops. I didn't have to do that.
How about him?
I would say that I agree with you, Chris. Like, if this happened for Kristen Miller in 2024, that's a bigger concern of that, because going into that season, it was, we really need one of Jaw Jarrett or Kristen Miller to really step up on the interior defensive line. Kristen Miller turns out to be that guy, one of the most consistent players for Georgia last season on defense, whereas this season it's Kristen Miller, we know what you're capable of. We know what you can do. We know you're going to be a mainstay in this lineup, but now we need some of these other guys to figure some things out, get more reps for them, get a better idea of what the depth chart is looking like. So I agree. Like, not great news, obviously, because you want to watch Kristen Miller, but good news in the sense of these younger guys get some reps. I've
decided I'm going to go ahead and slip some intel in here. We're going to go ahead and do this stock buying while we're talking about it. Got that film study coming up tomorrow, and I'm going to tell you, Jordan Thomas wears 92 for the University of Georgia. Ugly mover. It don't look pretty, but you know what he does? he lives in the backfield. He is constantly resetting the line of scrimmage. Elbowy, big elbowy dude. Don't really move all that fluid, but man, are the results violent. Like the entire time blowing up stuff. He's going to make plays. He's going to live in the opponent's backfield, and he is tough to move. I love, personally, always have. He was my guy coming out of high school in our first Super Day signing show from this studio, Nazir Johnson. Nazir Johnson, ladies and gentlemen, just might be the next freak at the University of Georgia. He's a mountain of a human being, and he moves like a special football player. I've heard great offseason by the stock now. Nazir Johnson, and little friend of the show right here, rocks number 5'6". There ain't a bad player ever worn 56. Facts. Find me one. You can't. Great players only rock that number, and Nasir Johnson's rocking it. On to the cornerback position. Dalen Everett, probably going to be out this spring. Sports hernia, had to be operated on. Might be a part of the reason why we didn't see him declare. Maybe it's something that he had to get handled. Probably wasn't going to be available for NFL Combine, anything Pro Day. Makes a lot of sense as to why he decided to come back, and probably only a third or fourth round draft pick projection right about now, even if he decided to come out. So decides to come back to Georgia. It was a big offseason and a big springtime for the young corners on this roster anyways, particularly DeMello Jones and Ellis Robinson. Both of those guys going to get a lot of extra love this spring. Probably going to leave spring thinking, I got work like I'm a one out here during the springtime at Georgia.
Yeah, I mean, this is perfect for adding up to or building up to a spring game. You're already telling Georgia fans that you get to see the young interior defensive lineman, and you get to see DeMello Jones and Ellis Robinson get a lot of reps. Like, that's very enticing and something that's going to be a lot of fun to monitor over the spring practice season.
It's very akin to the Kristen Miller situation, where there's guys behind you that could really use the reps right now. You're a proven guy. We've seen what you can do. I mean, you're a starter for going on 3 years now at this point after the 2025 season. So you don't necessarily need springtime. It would help if you were here, but go get rest, go get healthy. These younger guys are going to get the reps they need.
I also think it's very, very intriguing, and this is the intel part of this, right? I think it's very intriguing that Georgia has a player like Daniel Harris, who in my mind is a prototypical bump and run corner, right? Is best when he is playing man-to-man coverage, might get a little bit jumpy or might get a little bit lost in the weeds sometimes in zone coverage. But hey, when we're saying, hey, go run with that X receiver, I feel really good about Daniel Harris. And then on the other side of the starting rotation, you got a guy like Dalen Everett, who has made all of his plays almost exclusively in zone coverage, picking guys like Quinn Ewers off in flat coverage, or making good plays and keeping things in front of him in zone coverage in cover three. We have a discussion in the scouting world of field corner versus boundary corner. Georgia doesn't flip, but Daniel Harris, ideal field corner, big, tall, long, can run with anybody. Dalen Everett, super smart, cerebral, great in zone coverage, great in the short side of the field. Most of his plays come from that. When I look at the two young corners that Georgia's got, and I talk to people inside the building, right? When I talk about Ellis Robinson, when I talk about DeMello Jones, who they love. DeMello Jones, 6'2", burner, absolute burner of an athlete, can really, really run. Great bump and run corner, can really strap it up, feel comfortable in man-to-man coverage. Ellis Robinson, super instinctual. The short area quickness, absurd, right? The ability to feel confident in my breaks and zone coverage. I know what that guy's running. I'm going to jump that route right now. They have kind of a similar profile to the guys in front of them. And it's all about whether or not they beat those guys out over the next 6 or 7 months. But the future at corner, really, really bright, as you'd imagine. So
what I'm kind of hearing is that this might be a bigger opportunity for Ellis right now, because it is Dalen Everett missing time.
Now, again, they don't flip-flop the corners, all right? So they ask the corners to do the same exact thing. I'm just talking play styles. Sure. I'm not saying that Ellis is Dalen's backup. Mm-hmm. I would imagine what they do this spring is a rotation of those three names.
Yeah.
It's a rotation of today, it's Daniel and Ellis. Tomorrow, it's Daniel and DeMello. Tomorrow, it's the day after that, it's Ellis and DeMello. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They'll rotate them like that. I'm more talking about from a stylistic standpoint. Let's talk about football players. DeMello, big-time bump and run, lockdown corner. Ellis Robinson, big-time playmaker corner, instinctual corner, and can do the bump and run stuff.
Too, I think that this might benefit Daniel Harris quite a bit too, because I've seen some people mention in the chat if they want to see him obviously develop a bit more this season as well and him to play better. And this offseason, I think, like, obviously him and Dalen would have been getting reps together with the ones, and they would have been rotating in. But I think it feels a little different when you got one of the younger guys on the field with you, and you're kind of watching them play at the same time. I think maybe that kind of incentivizes of him maybe wanting to. Of course, he wants to play better and get better.
I do want to throw some water on the Daniel Harris hatred, because it's not hatred, it's criticism right here.
Sure.
This is the same football player that won a job this year at the University of Georgia. Not played his way, practiced his way into Julian Humphrey sitting on the bench and hitting the portal. Like the same guy that had Kirby Smart, who was in the room with me in Jacksonville, had Kirby Smart after that game saying, Daniel Harris has done what he's needed to do over the last month inside our building to be the guy. So he's going to be the guy until he is no longer the guy. So I think he had what people think was a bad showing against Notre Dame. And all it really was, I think a lot of people are hanging on to a fourth quarter play where you thought he wasn't as physical he was supposed to be. Mm-hmm. That's what it's all boiling down to, in my opinion. I don't remember a ton of times where the ball was in the air where Daniel Harris looked panicked this year. Do you guys? No. I don't remember very many games where Daniel Harris was hunted by the opposition. Do you guys?
No.
A pretty damn good corner at 6'3", 200 pounds, and a sub 10-7 100-meter runner. That's an NFL football player, ladies and gentlemen. And he may be holding other NFL football players from playing, and that's just the byproduct of recruiting the way that you do at certain positions.
I also think that people forget that the corner position is one of those spots where if the reception rate for passes thrown on you is 50% or less, you're a really good corner. Mm-hmm. Like if you're stopping half the time a catchable ball from being completed, you're a good corner. So yeah, you're going to have the 30% where, and I think people are also upset with Daniel Jones. I believe it was him or Daniel Harris. It was him who gave up the touchdown before half, I believe, on that slant. Correct me if I'm wrong.
In the SEC championship game?
Or against Notre Dame.
Maybe.
I think that's also part of the criticisms that's come from that. But again, plays like that are very hard to win all the time, and Daniel Harris wins them more than he loses them.
Let's move on to the next position. Branson Robinson expected to be limited. Obviously had another surgery, I believe, on a sprained MCL just to end last season. So I don't expect him to be a participant to much extent this spring. Now, I don't think anybody in that room from Cash Jones, Nate Frazier. Now, you could argue that Nate Frazier needs reps because he's still a young football player, but I'm putting that sucker in bubble wrap this spring and summer. So that would be my interpretation of the running back room, which means my man Chauncey Bowens, come on down. Your tongue going to be dragging this spring. Chauncey Bowens going to get more reps than he could ever dream of this spring.
Does Rod Robb need reps, you think?
Yeah, Rod Robb. But again, bubble wrap, dog.
Yeah.
Like I need Roger Robinson to be 100% healthy so I can see this fall what I saw against Florida State 18 months ago or 14 months ago at this point. I need to see that Roger Robinson.
Damn,
and I need that dude healthy.
It would be nice to have your starting running back in game one this year.
Yeah, it would be ideal.
Haven't had that in 2 years.
Yeah, bubble wrap, dog. Bubble wrap Nate Frazier. And bubble wrapping with the ball taped to his chest. Friday Night Light style. I'm going to tell you, I love you, Nate. I think you're an NFL football player. I think you're electric. I think you're going to do great things at Georgia. But if we don't keep that ball tighter to our body, Kirby Smart going to chew your ass out. Even the highlights of the workouts this summer, I'm seeing a ball away from the chest. I'm like, damn it, dude. High and tight like Tiki, man. Come on. Yep.
I have nothing to add to that.
Gabe Harris, going to be out this spring, left arm.
That's all they disclosed.
Yeah, so
I got an arm.
Here's the deal. I don't think Gabe Harris needs extra practice reps at the University of Georgia. Just going into year 3, he's practiced a ton. I think it's game reps that Gabe Harris needs. So I'm not necessarily worried about his development. I do think it's a massive spring for guys like Joseph Jonah-Ajonye. It's a football player that was getting into the mix early on due to injury last spring. Okay, he got hurt early on this year. Now, the tape that I watched of JJA against Tennessee Tech in particular, I think it's the only game he really played because I think he got hurt right after that.
He did.
You can see the promise. You can see everything that they tell you about when you talk to insiders about what he does on a day-to-day basis. However, you could see it spinning. You could see, hey, the game's a little bit too fast right now. We are very clearly thinking while playing football, and I don't need defenders to think. I need defenders to hunt, and that's it. So we'll show you that on film. Some jumping into contact, some I'm not quite sure about what I'm seeing. Some, oh, damn, I should have made a play. Running back just ran right by me. Just some general, we need to play a little bit faster type of stuff. Isaiah Gibson going to be in the mix here, you would imagine as well. Quintavious Johnson is the name that they need to play big this year at this jack at defensive end, hybrid edge rusher position. They need Quintavious Johnson to take massive leaps. He looked comfortable, and he looked like a football player who obviously has some football IQ on top of a freakish frame. 6'4", 245 pounds, runs like a deer. High school quarterback and, outside linebacker. Who was with, y'all weren't with, no one.
I watched it though.
Jacob Campbell was with me that day. It was 105 degrees, and he was playing both ways.
I just remember that game where they were like, we can't get anything on offense. We'll just put Q back there at quarterback and make him run us to a win.
That was when you were still doing Friday Night Mike segments.
Yeah. Now we're selective with that type of content. Even though, again, quintessential our channel, people who watch it are like, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen. 2,200 views.
Yeah.
It's fun though.
One of these days. You
just see another brawl to happen.
Yeah, that's what we need. Another brawl. Let's continue with the news about the injuries. Monroe Freeling and Ernest Green had shoulder surgery this offseason. We knew this was going to happen. Ernest played without an arm basically the back end of the year, and Monroe Freeling played without an arm basically the last 3 games of the year. Both had labrum surgery. Both will be out this spring, which brings me to this point. It is, and I don't like to do this to players, but it is do or die spring for Bo Hughley, in my opinion. With what's coming behind him, all right, with what they did in 2024, with Juan Gaston already being on campus, this is like, hey, Bo, we got 2 starting tackles down. You're going to be in the first group rotation all spring. This is your opportunity to establish yourself as the next guy in waiting so you can have that gap year before Juan Gaston's like, hey, I either play or I don't here at the University of Georgia. It is a massive spring for Bo Hughley. I don't think there is a player that has more do or die type scenario this spring. You either do or you don't right now than Bo Hughley.
Certainly it's a big component for him, especially knowing what Searles has done on the offensive line. I mean, just 2 classes ago.
Because you know what they think of the Ja Jackson kid and how anxious they are to get the guy onto the field. It's going to be Ja and Bo, I would imagine, in that first group all spring. It's a big spring for both. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, too, and it's in these types of moments where you feel some of that pressure. You kind of know what the situation is for you. This is my time. If he does live up to that, if he does succeed in these situations, and you do know, not only is he a viable option at tackle, but he's also built to last in these types of moments in these big football games because he showed up in this type of moment at practice. That means he'll likely do it on Saturdays as well.
Any thoughts?
Someone in chat did have a question kind of about this topic of Jayla asked Brooks, does he think Ernest Green is the left side dominant right side, trying to see what side of the O-line he is best suited for left or right tackle?
Ernest Green, when healthy, is so clean with his feet, I could throw him anywhere and know that he's going to stay in front of somebody. So I don't necessarily worry about him flip-flopping if they need to. With Monroe Freeling, he already did it.
Yeah.
Monroe Freeling played right and left this year as a redshirt freshman. I don't feel worried about him either.
Yeah.
The questions about Ernest are just general, can we continue? Can we get back to the player that you were as a redshirt freshman? When you were 100% healthy.
Yeah.
Because if you're that, you're a really, really good college tackle that every NFL draft guru is going to tell you needs to kick the guard, which is fine. I think he's probably going to have to figure that out when he goes to the NFL. But that dude is, and Tate even said this at his NFL press conference at the Combine, that the feet on that guy, he's got the best feet of any offensive lineman he's ever seen when healthy. I don't know. I think there was some compromising this year because we couldn't stab. We couldn't take our left hand about mid-season and actually make contact with somebody.
And we talk about execution a lot, and the players have alluded to execution. Do you think how much and why is it that obviously injuries played a factor? I mean, the Notre Dame game is a perfect example of that. But why do you think that hasn't been commented on as much? Because this was a beat-up offensive line group this year for Georgia.
I think we've done enough. I think we've talked about it enough.
Yeah.
But the problem I'm running into nowadays is no matter how many facts you provide or how many, not even facts, how many bullet points of evidence you provide of, hey, this is why this happened. It doesn't matter. It wasn't good enough. So everyone's under heat.
Gotcha.
Which is where we're settling on that discussion. The NCAA's catching a dub. Rare dub. First dub in years.
And honestly, I'm kind of happy.
I know. This is the time when people get mad at us a little bit, especially you Diamond Dog fans. Dylan Goldstein is currently in a battle with the NCAA for additional years of eligibility under the Diego Pavia ruling. If you guys don't remember, Diego Pavia has been given an additional year of eligibility because a court system somewhere decided that his junior college year just didn't happen, that it doesn't matter, that, you're just going to grab this extra year despite the fact that you're 29 years old. And it has basically created a chain effect of everybody who's ever played junior college trying to get an additional year. Dylan Goldstein being one of those at the University of Georgia. There's another baseball player, Alberto Ozuna up there at Tennessee doing the same thing. And all of these judges have basically realized, that other judge might have messed this up a little bit. We ain't going to be out here playing for 19 years in college athletics. So most of these guys are having their injunctions denied and their request for, a request for basically a restraining order.
Yeah.
A request for restraining order all getting booted out of court. So it looks like the NCAA is going to catch a dub right here.
Well, I think what kind of happened is when it was a college football quarterback asking to do this, it's like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. Like, we'll let this guy. But when you're talking about college baseball, you're opening up a whole other can of worms when it comes to JUCO players asking for extra years of eligibility. Like, spots are already super tight on college baseball teams. Very, very limited, especially the number of scholarships that you're able to extend to these players. And there's an absorbent amount of JUCO programs that are pipelining into these college programs, like these Power 4 programs. And so if you start handing out extra years of eligibility to these former JUCO players, then you're just going to have all kinds of super seniors all over this sport. So I think it's a dub in that sense of more guys are going to get more opportunities.
It's the thing that's bugged me the most since COVID, honestly. And I understand let the kids play forever type of argument. Like, I'd play college football as long as they'd let me play forever. Don't take away the drink. These roster spots are tighter than ever. They're tighter than ever. So every 25-year-old that gets to play another year of college football just eliminated an 18-year-old who's trying to get his start in college football. And it's a trickle-down effect, and that's the problem I have. And I will always carry favor to the high school kid getting his start over the 24-year-old who just needs to let it go.
And I think that's more of you're less upset with the 24-year-old still chasing their dream as you are the system that allows it.
Correct.
Like obviously,
I'm mad at Diego Pavia. I'm not mad at the dude down in Miami last year was doing a little bit crazy.
McCormick.
Like we're out here 9 years deep. Like that's insane.
If they're gonna let you do it, use the system. And I get what you're saying, and I get that it's probably not ethical from a standpoint.
That bad.
But I mean, if you were in his shoes, I feel like I would do the same, honestly.
Yeah.
To some degree. If I really wanted to play that bad. But I like that it sets this precedent that the NCAA isn't just going to roll over every time someone sues them and basically have no power and throw their hands up and let you do whatever you want. It's not going to change anything long term, I don't think, but it is nice to see that it's not just players getting whatever they want. Because like you said, there are some instances where I don't think you necessarily should win that type of lawsuit. But
absolutely. All right. We watched Bo Bentley's highlight tape last night, and we wowed and we wooed and we awed at it. But I don't feel like we actually broke it down as to why it was woo and wah and all the good stuff. So what we're going to do tonight is we're going to do what someone commented, an old school breakdown. All right. I got notes. I got thoughts. I got opinions. And we're going through all of these. I'm going to tell you why all this stuff is great stuff from Bo Bentley. The more and more I watch it, I'm like, ooh. QB2, borderline QB1. I love this tape, man. I love this tape, and I love this football player. I love the background. I love all of it. I think he's going to be great. So let's go to the board and actually give you a full-time breakdown. A little bit Jackson Darty. A bit Jackson Darty for me. Yeah, a little bit Jackson Darty for me. Let's take it to the board.
Throwing darties?
He didn't even get that one.
Like a day party? Is that what you're doing?
There it is.
You're talking to a former alcoholic, dog. Darties were my thing. An excuse to get after it at noon? Are you kidding me? Talk to me, baby. All right, let's break it down here. Bo Bentley. All right, we talked about this yesterday. We showed these clips yesterday. Let's actually talk about it. Now, you Georgia folks watching this, raise your hand if you have heard Kirby Smart talking about stepping up through the smoke in the pocket. That's right. Now, the reason being, he has said what? There's more verticality with inside the pocket than there ever is bowing outside the pocket. So, it's important to be able to step up through the smoke, but when we do so, we better be a killer once we get there. And this is a prime example of that, right? This is what we're talking about when we say step up through the smoke. Find the verticality inside the pocket. Now, where are his eyes right here? Put us back in two. We see where they're at. They're on this backside skinny coming from this wide receiver right here. He's going to keep eyes on it the entire time, and we're going to flick that sucker. Now, the other thing you're going to notice about this guy all night long when we do this, every time this guy lets a ball rip, whether he is from within inside the pocket, whether he is rolling right, whether he is rolling left, where it's really, really hard, upon releasing the football, his shoulders will 100% be square. Will you bring me that keyboard, please, sir? All right, these shoulders will be square at all times, every time he releases it, and you can see the accuracy down the field. Thank you, sir. All right, here we go. So now, what I love about this clip right here, all right? Now, let's start it from the top, okay? Because eye discipline at the quarterback position is paramount. Okay, big word. It is paramount. Our eyes right here down the middle of the field, knowing good and dang well on 3rd and 8 right here, we're coming back to this comeback 10 back down to 8 on 3rd and 7. That's what we're working. That's the progression. But our eyes are going to stay square and they're going to stay down the middle of the field. Reason being, it might not affect us right here in high school, but when we get to college, this hook curl player, ladies and gentlemen, his ability to gain depth and get back up underneath throws is going to make things a lot harder. But if we keep our eyes squared down the middle of the field, we have an opportunity to actually hold that hook curl defender. He is just now, as we flip our eyes left, just now actually getting out into his bail. Now, imagine if we stared our wide receiver down the entire time. That hook curl player is going to make this throw a little bit more difficult. So we're disciplined in our eyes. Now, let's talk about some power in our mechanics, right? Look where we're loaded. Put us back in two, Kirby. We are loaded in our right foot. We are ready to strike. That foot has already come down. We're about to let this ball rip and go. All right. So what I also love about this anticipatory throw, ball was way out before he even came out of his break. Now, if we're going to miss on these comebacks, where do we need to miss?
To the sideline.
To the sideline, low and away, never high and in. High and in's pick six, going back the other way. Boom. We miss and throw our guy flat back down to the sticks. Tremendous job right there. Okay. Now, I love when this kid comes to college, all right? We're going to talk about competitive carries, all right? Competitive carries from this football player. Every single rundown that is on these clips, 3rd and 1, goal line, short yardage situations. In other words, it's time to compete, baby. It's time to put our head down and make a football play like this right here. We have tremendous competitive character with the ball in our hand. We're going to go after it as a physical runner. That's where the Jackson Darty comparisons come in for me right there when we find clips like that. Now, all right, we've shown our competitive character. We've shown our mechanics. We've shown our arm talent. Hey, what's the chooch look like? What's the chooch look like? Well, here we are. We're on the ball on the right hash. We're going to let this thing rip from the 15-yard line. We're going to throw this thing on the backside 40. This ball is going to travel 45 yards in terms of ball snapped to where it landed. However, we're right hash to outside the numbers right here, ladies and gentlemen. That's about a 60-yard throw put into a bucket where it needs to be. So we got plenty of arm strength on top of all of the arm talent that we've already watched on display so far through this clip. Okay, I love the next clip. Let's go to 55 right here, okay? Again, I love how when we throw on the run, our shoulders are always square upon release point, okay? This is something that Stetson Bennett did tremendously during his time at the University of Georgia. Anytime rolling right, anytime rolling left, upon releasing the football, our shoulders will be square. We will not be tilted. We will not be accommodating for any type of lack of arm talent or arm strength that we actually have. When we get out here in the space, our spine angle and our spine integrity, if you will, our core integrity will remain intact. Anytime you see somebody doing this, we're compromised, all right? No matter what the position is, we want that core to be stabilized and tight throughout the rep, all right? So that's tremendous. And you'll see this throughout the film study. It's why these balls never die on him when we get outside the pocket. He has tremendous life, and it continues to arrive with some of that pop that we needed to on some of these throws, okay? We talked about this last night, keeping eyes right, putting a nice deliverable football to our wide receiver for a touchdown in a state championship game. We're going to go to 115, the clip I like next, okay? I am labeling this guy a 4'6" athlete. At 6'3", 200 pounds, if you made him run today, I'm thinking 4'6" flat. All right, there's some clips today that might make me lower that to about a 4.58. This dude puts juice into the cleats when he gets to taking off, all right? You can see some immediate athleticism, all right? And again, look, this is third in a zip code right here. Coach calling a draw in 2-down territory, all right? Y'all can't tell, but the sticks are up here. It's like 3rd and 15 right about now. So I'm talking about with the competitive nature of his actual carries. He has very few useless carries on tape. We were trying as an offense to get into a 4th and manageable right there so we could probably go for it. Instead, he creates a touchdown with his legs. We're going to 129 after we see another delightful ball right there. I want to talk about 129. This is an athlete. I want an athlete that can extend, but I want a quarterback that kills once the athlete does extend. And this is what I'm talking about right here. These next two clips, we're going to make the first defender miss. All right, we're going to get flat down the line of scrimmage with intentions to hunt with the ball as a thrower, not as a runner. We're going to continue to hunt with the ball as a thrower, get a nice 12-yard comeback right here. This is a real example of what it looks like to hunt when on the move, okay? We're not just doing so to actually extend the play and run. All right, we are doing so with our eyes downfield, looking for options to hunt, all right, and to kill. When the play breaks down and we're into a scramble drill, the defense is in a panic. We've got to be able to hunt and kill in these situations. It's why, in my opinion, we talked about it the other night, it's why Joe Burrow won the Heisman.
I was about to say.
It's why Joe Burrow won the Heisman. It's what makes him great. When things break down, yes, I can play on script, but when we get out, man, you're not worried about a 6-yard scramble. You're worried about a 66-yard touchdown, head top over everybody. That's what terrifies defenses when we extend.
I was about to say, plays like that make him seem like a slightly more athletic Joe Burrow.
Yep. Same thing here. I think we're going to do this. Yeah, this is goofy. Now, here's my question, Kirby. Why aren't we ripping that window? All right, so even the highlights, sometimes I got negative criticism about, and we should be throwing that football. We shouldn't be needing to scramble right, hitting this late. We should be hitting that right in this window when we pump it. All right, we've got the clear. I know what you're thinking. Middle field safety, somebody over here lurking. There's nobody there. He figures that out as he extends. Okay, now he realizes, they just had one guy over the top of my guy. We're actually going to hit this on the run.
Do you think maybe, too, the DB was in phase, then he trips, and it looks like he makes a decision to run
I see what you're saying. Like, right here, we're dead. Right here, we're looking it off anyways.
Yeah.
And then we get a little bit of a stumble. I'm with you. However, I do think right here, as we create space, our eyes are still locked. We wanted to pump it right there.
Yeah.
It's almost like he gets even with the DB simultaneously as he decides, like, pause it.
Correct.
Like when the corner gets open,
you're talking about at the top of the break, right here.
When he gets simultaneous with him right there, he is now.
He's already moved to the dig right here.
The very split second he decides he's going to take off. Watch. Off right there.
Yeah.
So I mean, it definitely that window was open sooner, but I think he progressed beforehand and then decided to take off.
All right, I've seen it 5 or 6 times now. Here's my interpretation of this play. Bo, if you're watching, let me know. I think right now we've clicked off the skinny. We're off the bang 8.
Yep.
Right now we're coming back to the dig right here. We're looking at this tight end. We don't like it. Now we're scrambling. Then here's what I love about this guy. All right, something about him tells him to get his eyes downfield. All right, there's no I'm looking for the deep over. Right now he's looking at the sticks. He's running. All right, now we get our eyes up. Boom, we're ready to strike.
Was that a safety crashing down on that dig?
Yeah. All right, where are we at? I think it's a 4'6" athlete all damn day. All day. With good quick twitch. Like, it pulls off immediately. You'll see him get caught a few times on tape, though.
He looks like he's running faster than 4'6", though.
There's a play later. Breaks into open field. Corner runs him down.
Mm-hmm.
4'4" athletes in high school never get ran down.
No, I guess my point of it is, like, when you watch Gunnar Stockton, you go, okay, that's a 4'6" runner. He looks faster than that.
I'm 4.78 on gun.
Okay, then maybe a little different then. But he looks exponentially faster than a guy like that.
Correct. All right, I want to talk mechanics here, and we'll see a good look at it later. You will never see this guy throw a football, all right, and that left hand not attached to that chest. He is going to slam on that front side so hard. He's never going to do any of this. He's never going to let his body fall off. The mechanics are so clean, and they're so consistent. And it's amazing that this guy plays as many sports as he does, because when you watch him throw the football, he's very clearly well trained. And you don't get this way without throwing thousands of footballs in the offseason. Okay, this consistent with your mechanics. We'll see a good look at it later on in the clip of an actual back shot. I think he's got a special arm. That's clear, okay? And when we work left like this, again with the shoulders square right here, this takes what we call spinal dexterity. All right, we've got to be able to pull our spine and get our actual core to rotate while keeping our shoulders square to be able to actually flip this football, guys. This is the stuff, now I'm not saying he is this, but this is the type of stuff that wowed people when Caleb Williams would do it in game, right? It's the same stuff that wows people when Pat Mahomes does it. You got to be able to have the athleticism to actually twerk your body that way and still, again, keep those shoulders square throughout the rep.
I think that's the lacrosse in him right there.
Yeah. The ability to just get our body to certain angles. We're going to 237 after this. This is a great ball, but I want to talk about the next one. I think the next one's got tremendous touch right here, man. Tremendous touch right here, but the reason it's on the clips, look at the celly from my man. Look at the celly from my man. There is none. We're walking straight to the sideline. Walking straight to the sideline. Athleticism to extend, eyes downfield, be able to make the throws. We already talked about that one. We're going to 3 minutes. I want this one next. I think he's going to enter the college with competitive character as a ball carrier. Again, 3rd and 2 right here. State playoff game on television for them. This is when they engaged his legs. It's why I brought the Jackson Dart comp up. This is a competitive carry football player. So when you get him into your room, you have to understand as a football coach, on 3rd and 2, when we give him a read option, he's keeping the damn ball. So we might have to know that about him. All right. Some of these guys get a little bit too every play is my play type of guys because they have competitive character. We got to watch out for that when we get him into our building. Again, with this very next clip, check the situation. Down the distance, 3rd and 1, right here in a state championship game. Who's getting the ball? Who's getting the ball? Who's getting the pill? He is, okay? Competitive ball carrier is what this guy is. This is why I say 4.6. Okay? Right there, 4.4 athletes, never hawked.
That's fair.
Now, I know there's a difference between 4.4 and 4.6 and 4.5, which is why I'm going to show you a clip later where I might be leaning more towards the 4.5. Now, this is the first and only clip on the tape that you'll see where he leans onto that arm side, okay? And I think if we're going to be critical, we had no reason to do so. We've got a firm pocket right now. There's no need. See us leaning onto that top toe and kind of falling arm side right here? We don't necessarily have to do that. Our arm fixes us, though. Our arm talent and being able to get away with that inconsistency in our lower body mechanics puts that ball in the right spot. Let's go to 356. I think this guy's elite juice moving right and left. I think he's got elite juice as a play action quarterback. Akin to last class, Matt Zoller's moving right. An elite ball, all right? Especially moving left as well. It's hard to make that throw to our left. All right, we're going to do the pause test on my man's mechanics right here again. Rolling. Look at that. Look at those shoulders staying square. And watch that ball, even though it kind of fluttered on him, show up to that wide receiver with elite life. Doink. No on this one. All right, this ball will never at the end of this. All right, this is where I was like, all right, maybe he's a 4.58 guy. Maybe.
Dang.
Maybe. I mean, that's pretty damn athletic right there. Let's go to 4.26. I love this right here. Look at his lower half fire into this. I'm going to slow this down a little bit. Watch this lower half, these hips. Watch these hips open up and really slam into this front side of his right here. Check this out, okay? Watch these lower body mechanics. Make sure we're in 2 right here, okay? Watch this front hip open up. Boom. All right, that back hip. Look at that toe drag, all right? You ever watch a pitcher and that backside toe drag on him? That's what I want to see. I want to see that thing elevate, man. I want to see that thing stay intact, maybe a little bit of pop right there, and then stay dragging through contact. I will say, doesn't throw the tightest ball of all time, but man, has elite life. How's the chat liking this, by the way?
They really like it.
They're getting all the ditties from you, too.
All right, here we go. Hey, I also love this about him, okay? Especially projecting him to where we cover, all right? Most of these high school kids, what are they doing all damn day? They're doing this right here all damn day. Set hut. Set hut. Set hut. Hell, some of them are straight dropping nowadays. Set hut. Ain't too many high school kids doing this one. Set hut, turn back to the defense, do one of these, turn back around. Where'd they go? They moved because I turned my back to them. So when I get this kid in college, first and foremost, most of these kids, I got to teach them how to take a damn snap under center. I ain't got none of that with this guy. This guy's, he's going to understand play fakes. He's going to understand how to manipulate the ball. He's going to understand where my drops are, how deep I need to be, how to come back down towards the line of scrimmage to throw these balls, and not only how to read concepts as they're running away from me or running with me. All right, so all these transition questions we got about some of these young football players, not so much with this athlete right here, okay? This is 50 with ease right here. We throw this from the 40, just flicking that sucker and getting the nose to come back down. You see how violently that thing came right back down on him? Mm-hmm. Look at this. All right, ball is at the peak right here. All right, it's at the peak, 35, 40 yards into this motion. In the last 15 or the last 10 yards that this wide receiver is going to actually travel, that ball is going to come all the way back down. This is what we want. I want that nose to be coming right back down on those wide receivers. All right, I want them to be able to catch that in a basket formation, not have to reach out for it or that ball to be too flat.
He's cruising, man. I don't know.
Now, this right here is a hole throw, ladies and gentlemen. This ball is ripped right now, and the only reason it's ripped right now is because he's got a defender in his face, okay? We threw this with smoke and fire in our grill, all right? And we're going to throw it way early. We're going to throw it way early with a safety closing. The only way we get this ball there is if it's in the perfect spot and it's ripped like an SOB. And that's exactly what it is right here. That ball is absolutely scudded. Put it exactly where he needed to be. So it wasn't a scud missile. It was an accurate missile right here. Doink. And I love it with the pressure in his face too, man. Standing calm right there. That's that straight drop I was telling you about. He's got some of it too. This is straight from Bryce Young. We're going to pedal into this. Everything working to our left is available to us because we're not already open. And then we're going to rip it. Competitive ass runner, guys. Competitive runner. All the carries, third and short, second and short, fourth and short, all right? And making them house calls through some competitive character with the ball in our hands. This is where I put special athlete. And this was the one where you, Jonathan, were like, are you still watching Bo Bentley tape? Yeah, I am. Because I was over there watching going, whoa, what is this? We're just going to set that guy up, get flat, all right? Run out of bounds. I love the spatial awareness right there. All right, and I think he even set this guy up. He knows he's coming free. Right now, he feels him. He's free. I'm going to spin this sucker. Whoop. More stepping up through
like Kyler Murray. That's what it is.
He runs like Kyler?
Yes.
Short choppies?
Short chops. Watch that last clip again and think and maybe it's the one.
I see the short choppies. It's that soccer that we got to keep that ball tied to our toe. I love this clip. Another example. All right, we've gotten to the top of our drop. All right. If there's any grass for us to gain, it's inside the pocket. Do not continue to float backwards. Continue, step up in it. Right tackles and left tackles are getting speed rush. Step up in the smoke. Get your feet planted. Rip the damn ball. And let's get a tud right here. I also love the ball placement on this. We got an underneath defender in trail right here. Most high school quarterbacks are not throwing that ball. All right, we have to throw that ball up and over the head of this DB that is in trail right here. Perfect football right there, up and where our wide receiver can go grab it. Again, with trash at our feet right here. Trash at our feet right here. We're going to flick that ball and keep ourselves safe. Let's go on to 606. I think we're starting to jump around here. Let's go to 605. Turning your back is not easy, ladies and gentlemen. Doing this right here, not knowing what the defense has got going on. I know it seems simple on a highlight tape, okay, but it is not. Getting back around, that's tough. That's tough to ask a young kid to do, especially if he's never done it before. We get him into our system that runs a pro-style system. We feel comfortable, all right? We don't have to teach him these things, all right? Now, what's also not easy, it's one thing to throw darts. We invented a new word this year, strider darts, all right? When we throw a dart that is in stride with our wide receiver downfield, boom, that's what we want. We don't want guys waiting on footballs. We don't want guys having a high point footballs. We don't want to feel like I better not overthrow him. That's a strider dart right there, okay? Let's go to 629. Now, this next clip, I love this about him, okay? Now, this is high-level stuff here. We got a go or a bend or a post right here. We got an out and an up. Now, he is going to be taught to extend and then come to balance and rip this football into a hole in the window of the defense right here. Now, Kirby, if we continue to float, even though we've got pressure on us, if we continue to float, we're going to take the angle out of this hole shot. Meaning, if we continue to float to the sideline, we're going to have to kind of rainbow flick this one over instead of being able to actually throw it with pace.
Well, the longer you do that, the more you're throwing across your body as well.
Exactly. All right, so watch him. He's going to come to balance right here. Again, even though we got a ton of pressure in our face and we're going to rip this football, boom, and we're going to get it out before we take contact and put it right where we need to put it. Again, I've seen so many high school kids. They continue to float, and now we got to kind of do one of those and hope to get it up and over, and then all of a sudden the safety comes over, bam, big hit on the sideline. Nope, we are going to take the hit to save our receiver from taking the hit. I love this rep right here from Bo Bentley. Another kid, I just assume has huge hands, has to have big mitts. All right, 4.58. Or actually, this is a really, really good look at the lower body mechanics right here. I love this from him. All right, we are loaded in that back foot, right? We all see that right now. We're going to get to this right here, where we get into what I call layback, where that hand is laid back in that elbow, all right? And we're still square shoulders, even on a deep ball. And what I also love about this, watch this front knee, okay? You can't quite tell, but we still got a flexion in this knee. It's not locked down on us. It's not fighting back against us. Watch as he finishes this throwing motion right here. Watch how we stay strong on that front foot. Look at that. We look like we're ready to catch a single leg squat right here, don't we, boys? We're in a nice, powerful position, and we always are when we have good mechanics like this. This is going to lead to consistency on those balls thrown 15, 20, 25 yards downfield. When we are loose or when we are disconnected with our lower half, we're going to lose a lot of this. Remember what I told you a little bit earlier about this front side too? Look at that left hand. That left hand is picture perfect, man. It's always going to be right there. We're never going to be compromised in our core. That's why this guy is deadly accurate, I believe, in those middle to intermediate levels of the game. Boink. Ball. Bo Bentley, I think I spent 2 days selling you. He probably going to be a Sooner, so that sucks. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know where he's going. But yeah, this is a great football player. I'm excited to see what happens with him down through the college ranks as he gets into the mix. I hope you guys enjoyed that, man. If y'all got some athletes or some prospects that you want me to go into specific deep dive detail, I think that was 20 minutes of Bo Bentley work right there. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Yeah, let's continue on with the rest of today's show notes. I want this jealousy segment. Before we go back to the board for nostalgic tape, I want to talk about this jealousy segment. I think this is great. I think this is an awesome idea that we can only burn up once. So let's do it. So here's how we're going to do this. I don't believe, you don't believe, there is a single college football program out there in the world that Georgia fans would trade their football program for right about now.
Despite the way they act.
You wouldn't do it. You would not. You would not trade shoes for an Ohio State fan right now. You would not trade shoes with an Alabama fan right now. You would not trade anything to be anything other than a Georgia football fan right now. So there isn't a program you're quote-unquote jealous of. However, there are certain aspects about certain programs that you might wish you had. And Lord knows I've heard you complain about it and say, why can't we have that? So let's start with it. Here's what I think Georgia fans should be most jealous of. I think you should be jealous of the fact that Ohio State fans Ohio State football program just seems to roll out NFL wide receiver talent ad nauseum. Just a plethora of them. Just too many to even play. I think that should make you a little bit jealous, and you have a right to be.
It's definitely something that fans have aired their grievances out numerous times before, and you see it in the NFL, and everyone knows the streak of there hasn't been a 1,000-yard receiver or a first-round draft pick.
I can't wait to write that article again this year.
Oh, yeah.
7 years in a row.
Yeah.
Might do the 1,000-yard rusher, too.
Yeah, maybe. What else should Georgia fans be a little bit jealous of?
Honestly, wide receivers is like from a player position standpoint, that'd be about the only one I could think of. Maybe like the QB talent that Lincoln Riley seems to get consistently. Now this year, not exactly up to pace that he typically has had, but in years prior, I mean, it's been Heisman winner.
I think if you're going to take anybody's quarterback thing, in my opinion, I think the way that Tennessee has the ability to say, that's our guy, there is no doubt about it, we are getting him. I think that unique talent, because it is unique to them, and it's unique to Lincoln to an extent. He circles a guy that he wants. He only recruits that guy. He lands that guy. Tennessee does it way early in the process. Way early in the process. They did it with Nico. They did it with George McIntyre. They're doing it right now with Faison Brandon. Now, whether you think those guys are the right quarterbacks or the best quarterbacks or whatever, I'm talking about the process. We like that guy. We love that guy. He's our guy. Watch us go get him. I don't think there's very many programs outside of Lincoln that can say that that's the way that they recruit the position.
And they never back off of their pledge.
Nope.
Like Georgia's had multiple examples of getting a guy committed, Jared Curtis being one of these, they get him committed way early in the process, but then open up the recruitment, go somewhere else more times than not.
Now, let's be honest. Over the last 3 years, during this process, Tennessee has had the financial means to go out and make sure that their guys aren't poached from them, whereas Georgia might look at it and say, poach him. Go ahead.
Spend the money.
Pay him what you want. We'll go get somebody else.
Yeah.
Your guy will write poems. Our guy will grind on practice squad.
Exactly.
What a shot. I think Georgia fans should be a little bit jealous of LSU. Now, this might change this year, obviously, with that schedule.
Why? Is it because their governor allows live tigers?
Nah, dude. It's because LSU always gets the damn night game.
Always.
I feel like whenever LSU plays in Death Valley, it's at 7:30 p.m., regardless of it's Alabama or Army.
Boy, you can go ahead and book it. I'm going to get a 9:30 Eastern time, 8:30 local time start, LSU in the white jerseys at home against McNeese State on ESPN.
They love it. You got another one, Joe?
Meanwhile, I'm going to watch Georgia and Arkansas get College Game Day in town at noon.
Oof. That was a fun game to be a part of.
It was loud. I wasn't there.
Honestly, I don't know that I could think of any.
I got another one.
I got another as well.
Go ahead.
Georgia fans should be jealous of Ole Miss.
Why?
Because Ole Miss has a traditional color scheme, but they are willing to do the alternate uniforms. We see all the We see all the recruiting visits. Everyone talks about where's the white helmets? Are we going to wear black jerseys this year? Ooh, red pants would be so nice with this color combo. I wish we did. They never do it. Ole Miss, on the other hand, they'll throw in red jerseys. The powder blues have become their main jerseys now.
Yeah. They
have white helmets. They'll do navy helmets every now and again. So Ole Miss mixes it up a little bit. I think Georgia fans are a little bit jealous of that.
Yeah, keep the main thing the main thing.
Hey, I'm telling from a fan standpoint.
Just give me black jerseys. Keep the main thing the main thing. Just give me black every once in a while. That's all. They look so clean. The black Georgia jerseys are top 5 college football uni.
Yeah, they are really clean.
And I'm sure I'm going to get labeled biased for that. But that is a clean-ass uni. With them silver britches. I think Georgia fans should be jealous, not of the home field environment that Auburn has, but the voodoo that they got going on out there. Now, Georgia, and I hear it, Georgia's in a time period where they win in every damn home game no matter what right now because they just that damn good. However, There's going to be a time very, very soon, maybe not soon, but there's going to be a time in the Georgia, football timeline where you're going to need some of that voodoo that they got going on out there at Jordan-Hare.
I agree. I think the Jordan-Hare voodoo also comes from the fact that most of those voodoo moments are when you're playing teams that are better than you.
Yeah. Which, again, not a situation where Georgia's really frequenting right about now under Kirby Smart, but one day.
You wouldn't say that there was some voodoo in the Georgia Tech game last year?
No, I think it was Dan Jackson cheating. Yeah, Dan Jackson out here targeting folks and getting away with it. They can't keep getting away with it, man. This targeting in the box, man. I just can't deal with it. Just got to figure it out.
It was a little voodoo-y that ball was on the ground for a hot 2 to 3 seconds before Chaz Chambliss jumped on it. That was a little voodoo-y.
Chaz Chambliss just a lunch pail, get it done.
It's a shame he can never set an edge.
Yeah, just can't, and damn sure can't get after the quarterback, even though he led the team in sacks.
Probably why he couldn't get to the combine. Just could never set an edge.
Damn,
that was crazy. Any more?
This one's a little controversial, I think, but I think some Georgia fans are jealous of Clemson for being able to rush the field. Not as much as they do, but saying
you're never rushing the field.
Sanford Stadium is unrushable.
Unrushable. Never doing it. I challenge you to try. You're never going to do it.
You got to hop over a 6-foot retaining wall, and then climb through a bunch of hedges,
or hope to get down the steps when everyone else is trying to get down the steps.
Oh my Lord!
And then get not only just the hedges, but the fence. Outside and inside the hedges.
Fence, yes.
The fence is not going to let you. Huh?
Bakari Rambo did it one time.
Huh.
Completely scaled the hedges and hopped over the wall.
Bakari Rambo. Special place in my heart.
Legendary college football name.
Yeah. Off the show. Off record topic right there.
We talked with him once, didn't we?
We did. But a whole different thing that I've never even talked to Bakari about because I'd be afraid to do it. So, yeah. Nostalgic tape?
We have one.
Is it a good one? I heard you guys chuckling and giggling about it earlier.
I'll give you a quick rundown on this player. He is actually, you know what? Just go up and
all right, let's do it.
Yeah, no rundowns.
Don't need to.
No notes.
It's fairly recent though, so I think you might get it pretty soon.
Let's see here. Ooh, offensive player in the slot right here. Oh, he's skinny. Hold on. Is this Alabama football?
It is.
This is.
Did this guy transfer?
He did.
He did.
Is that Jackson Meeks?
That is Jackson Meeks.
Yeah, that's Central High School down there in Phoenix City. Also where my man Keon Coleman that plays for Auburn, where he came out also corner.
Cam Coleman.
Played at Georgia. Cam Coleman, Keon, the dude at Florida State. He is about to moss this guy in the end zone, by the way.
This is very impressive tape.
And this is sophomore tape, isn't it?
No, this is his signing day highlight reel.
Now, that's cap because he put together his best highlights from high school because this dude got hurt the last 2 years of high school football. So that is sophomore tape right there.
Good Lord.
That's him high pointing as a sophomore at Central. Now, this is a football player that went to Syracuse and had a damn year, didn't he?
Oh, yes.
He went over Iraq this year, didn't he?
He's a day 3 eval now.
Hell yeah.
But I mean, just watching this tape, you go, oh, this is why he went to Georgia.
Yeah, and when I evaluated him out of high school, it was honestly, I compared him more to like a Kyrus Jackson type of football player. He's a lot taller than Kyrus, but just, hey, I don't know if he's going to be an X. I don't even know if he's going to be a Z, but we talked about competitive character with Bo Bentley. The ability, the willingness to be tough and compete, that's everything about this eval from Jackson Meeks.
I mean, cut his teeth on special teams for his pretty much entire career at Georgia.
But we never, I like that juice off the line. I never saw this juice off the line from Jackson Meeks in college.
I don't think so.
So, yeah, that's a good nostalgic tape, man. That was a borderline my guy coming out of Phoenix City. The injury concerns really kind of pushed me off of a my guy. How about, by the way, first ever my guy in the history of the Film Guy Network? Do you remember who it was?
No.
I should know who.
It was Jared Wilson. And I went back and watched that highlight breakdown of Jared Wilson. I opened up the show with, hey, don't be paying attention to ratings. This guy right here will push Michael Morris for his playing time. And better yet, Dylan Fairchild will as well.
Attaboy.
A damn take right there. So yeah, Jared Wilson, first ever my guy, and going to be the number one center taken off the board this year. I'd call it a hit.
Yeah,
I'd call it a hit.
You're the first taking your position in the NFL draft. That's a hit.
Yeah. My guy that is being projected as a round 2 draft pick as a center, that's a hit.
More breaking news. Boys, since last night, we have received intrigue from some pretty big programs in terms of, we'll let you continue your football education here. So you might get fewer shows, but the ball knowledge going through the roof this summer. I've got it. You know what it is?
What you got?
It is the Summer Covert Campus Tour.
I like it.
We're going sneaky. We're going, you're not even going to know I'm there. I'm going to be a fly on the wall, just absorbing information. It's going to be so much fun. I'm going to spend way too much money traveling to these places, but I don't give a shit. I'm just seeking the ball knowledge. Now, I do understand you coaches that are listening everyone might be an infiltrator. You know what I mean? They're all worried. Everyone's kind of worried. We can't be having outsiders come inside the building, that kind of stuff. I'm just there seeking knowledge, man. I'm just there trying to grow. And here's the reason why. We went very viral this last season. Very viral. Multiple times. For this is what went wrong. This, like, particularly most notably, the Alabama one. All right. I went very viral in the Alabama space this year for the man-to-man, consistently playing man-to-man on third down against Vanderbilt. The reason why I felt like they could not get off the field on third down. They gave up 12 of 19 third down conversions in a game that cost them a lot of momentum in the season. And that went uber viral. My biggest fear doing what I do is that something like that happens. I go viral. And for some reason, I'm wrong. I'm missing something. I'm mislabeling something. I'm pointing blame to the wrong thing. And then all of a sudden, a coach is getting cooked for something that ain't even his damn fault. Or worse, a player's getting cooked for something that ain't his damn fault. That is my biggest fear. It almost keeps me up at night. It's why I study as much as I do. But there is a void in my knowledge. There is a void in my education, and we've got to get that filled in order. It sounds self-aggrandizing. It sounds superficial and all that good stuff. But I feel as if I get in front of that board and I am not seeking as much knowledge and education in the game of football as I possibly can, I'm doing a disservice to the game of football because I'm misleading fans about the game of football. You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
That's why it's so important for me this summer and this spring to continue my education, if you will, in the game of football. So, yeah, that's what it is. Somebody, we'll talk about it later. I appreciate you guys being here. Love you. Bye. We'll see you tomorrow.